A CEO, a wrong text, a single father who changed everything. Lena Hartley had it all: power, wealth, respect. Until one careless click sent her most private photo to the last person who should have seen it, Daniel Brooks, the quiet maintenance worker she barely knew. But instead of humiliation came something unexpected: protection, dignity, a glimpse of a man who chose honor over opportunity. What began as her worst nightmare became the collision of two impossible worlds: corporate glass towers and cramped studio apartments, boardroom battles and grocery store budgets. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The photograph existed for exactly 9 seconds before Lena Hartley's world split in two. She stood in her bedroom, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac, the one that cost more per month than most people earned in a year, and stared at her phone screen with the kind of stillness that precedes catastrophe. The sapphire bikini she'd bought in a moment of reckless celebration after closing the Meridian deal suddenly felt like evidence of a crime she hadn't meant to commit. Her thumb had been so confident, so casual, so absolutely, devastatingly certain she was sending the photo to Jessica, her college roommate who'd texted that morning demanding proof Lena was still human under all that CEO armor. "See?" she'd typed beneath the playful mirror selfie. "Still got it." But the name above the message thread wasn't Jessica Chen. It was Daniel Brooks. Daniel Brooks, whose employee file listed him as Facilities Technician 2. Daniel Brooks, who she'd probably spoken to 5 times in the 18 months since he'd started working at Hartley Tech Solutions. Daniel Brooks, who fixed the broken things no one else noticed and left every Thursday at exactly 4:47 p.m. for reasons she'd never bothered to ask about. Daniel Brooks, who now possessed an image of her that no one in her professional universe was ever supposed to see. "No," the word came out strangled. "No, no, 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 no." Her fingers flew across the screen, desperate and clumsy. Delete, unsend, retract. But the blue checkmarks mocked her, delivered, read, and her $1,500 phone suddenly felt like a weapon she'd turned against herself. The reply came before she could formulate damage control. "I believe this was sent by mistake. I'll delete it immediately. Please don't worry." Lena read it 3 times, then 4. Then she set the phone down on her marble nightstand and walked to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Below, Alexandria stretched out in neat geometric patterns. Historic row houses giving way to modern developments, cobblestone streets threading between glass-fronted businesses. From up here, everything looked ordered, controllable, a city she could understand in terms of market share and zoning regulations and tax incentives. But she couldn't control what had just happened. Daniel Brooks had seen her vulnerable, playful, human in a way she never allowed at work, where every gesture was calculated, every smile deployed with strategic precision. And instead of exploiting that vulnerability, instead of the screenshot, the joke, the leverage that most men in her life would have immediately calculated, he'd offered her grace. That's what scared her most. Okay. Monday morning, Hartley Tech Solutions headquarters. The building gleamed like a monument to Lena's ambition. 12 stories of steel and reflective glass on the waterfront, visible from the highway as a declaration that Alexandria wasn't just DC's bedroom community anymore. She'd fought the city's council for 2 years to get the permits, personally courted 3 major investors, and worked 70-hour weeks to prove that a woman under 35 could run a tech firm without a male co-founder to stabilize things. Now, walking through the lobby at 7:15 a.m., she felt like a fraud. Marcus, the Monday morning security guard, nodded as she passed. "Early start, Ms. Hartley." "Always," she replied, her voice smooth and professional, giving away nothing of the weekend that had shattered her carefully constructed equilibrium. The elevator rose silently. Her reflection in the polished doors showed exactly what she wanted the world to see: charcoal suit tailored to perfection, auburn hair pulled into a sleek low bun, minimal jewelry, maximum authority. This was the Lena Hartley who'd turned a struggling software startup into a $15 million company in 4 years. The Lena Hartley who made venture capitalists nervous and competitors respectful. Not the woman in a sapphire bikini who'd sent the wrong message to the wrong man. The executive floor was still empty when she emerged. Good. She needed the silence to prepare for, "Morning, Lena." She spun, hand flying to her chest. "Jesus, Robert, you scared me." Robert Chen, her CFO and Jessica's older brother, stood by the coffee station with his phone in one hand and a confused expression. "You okay?" "You never startle." "Didn't sleep well." She moved past him toward her office, but he followed. "The board meeting's at 9. Patterson's going to push the cost-cutting proposal again. You ready?" "Always am." "He's got the votes this time. Maintenance, janitorial, facilities. He wants to outsource the whole department, cut overhead by 18%. Lena stopped walking. "Outsource facilities?" "Not sexy, but smart. We contract out, we eliminate benefits, pensions, full-time salaries. It's standard practice for companies our size." Robert sipped his coffee, oblivious to the way her pulse had started hammering. "He's already got preliminary bids. Could save us close to $200,000 annually. Daniel's salary was probably $45,000, maybe $50,000 with overtime. We'll discuss it at the meeting," Lena said, her voice carefully neutral. "I need to review some contracts first." But she didn't go to her office to review contracts. She went to her office to close the door, sit at her desk, and try to remember how to breathe like someone who didn't care whether Daniel Brooks kept his job or not. 9:47 a.m. Third floor maintenance office. Daniel Brooks had been at work since 6:30, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the way he kept glancing at his phone like it might explode. "You waiting for a call from the president?" Marcus. Different. Marcus, day shift maintenance supervisor, asked, rolling a cart of cleaning supplies past Daniel's workstation. "No, just nothing. Checking the time." "You check the time by looking at clocks like a normal person, not by staring at your phone every 5 minutes like it owes you money." Marcus was 63, had worked maintenance for 40 years, and had exactly zero patience for what he called phone addiction bullshit. "What's got you spooked?" "Nothing. I'm good." "Uh-huh." Marcus squinted at him. "You got that look my son gets when he's done something stupid and is waiting to see if his wife noticed." Daniel turned back to his computer where he was supposed to be logging work orders. "I'm fine, Marcus, just tired." "You're always tired. You got a kid." Marcus paused. "How is Maya, anyway? She's still obsessed with those vampire books?" "Moved on to building things. Asked me to teach her basic carpentry this weekend." Daniel felt himself relax slightly, the way he always did when talking about his daughter. "Built a birdhouse. It's crooked as hell, but she's proud of it." "That's good." "You're a good dad, Brooks." Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. "Don't let this place grind you down. Remember you got something to go home to." After Marcus left, Daniel allowed himself one more glance at his phone. No new messages. The conversation with Lena Hartley sat there like evidence. His own message stiff and formal. No reply from her. He deleted the photograph the moment he sent that text. Didn't even let himself look at it twice. But the image had burned itself into his memory anyway. Not because of what it showed, though she was beautiful in an obvious, undeniable way, but because of what it meant. The CEO of his company, the woman who walked past him like he was furniture, had sent him something intensely personal. By accident, sure, but still. And for one brief, stupid moment, he'd felt like she'd seen him. Like he existed in her world as something other than the guy who changed light bulbs and fixed jammed printers. Then reality had reasserted itself, the way it always did. Women like Lena Hartley didn't notice men like Daniel Brooks. They lived in different universes, orbiting different suns, speaking different languages under the same roof. She probably made in a month what he made in a year. She probably didn't know his daughter's name, didn't know he left early on Thursdays, didn't know that sometimes he skipped lunch to save money for Maya's school supplies. His phone buzzed. Work order notification. Conference room B, third floor, flickering overhead lights. Daniel grabbed his toolbox and headed upstairs, grateful for something concrete to fix. 10:15 a.m., conference room. B. The lights were fine. Daniel stood on the ladder, testing each bulb systematically, but they all worked perfectly. He checked the wiring, the switch, the fixtures. Nothing wrong. Someone had probably submitted a phantom work order, or maybe the flickering had been temporary. An electrical surge, something transient. He was about to pack up when the door opened. Oh, I didn't realize anyone was in here. Lena Hartley stood in the doorway, and for a second they both just stared at each other like teenagers caught passing notes. Light fixture, Daniel said, finding his voice first. Work order said it was flickering, but everything looks fine now. I see. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The conference room suddenly felt very small. Actually, I was the one who submitted that request. Daniel's hand tightened on the ladder. The lights seem okay. Was it a specific bulb or... The lights are fine. Lena's voice was quiet but steady. She moved closer, and he caught a hint of her perfume, something subtle and expensive that probably had a French name. I needed an excuse to talk to you, privately. He descended the ladder slowly, buying time. When he reached the ground, she was standing 6 feet away, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. This was the CEO version of her, controlled, armored, prepared, but her hands were gripping each other, knuckles pale. I'm sorry, she said. About Saturday. That was never meant for you, obviously. I know you said not to worry, but I need you to know it won't happen again, and I hope it hasn't made things uncomfortable for you here. It hasn't, Daniel replied, keeping his voice professional. You don't need to apologize. Everyone deserves privacy. I deleted it immediately, and I haven't mentioned it to anyone. I know you haven't. She exhaled. That's why I wanted to thank you. Most people would have been assholes about it, Daniel finished. I'm not most people. Something flickered in her expression, surprise maybe, or recognition. No, she said softly. You're not. The silence stretched between them, loaded with everything they weren't saying. I should finish up here, Daniel said finally, gesturing to the ladder. If the lights start acting up again, just let me know. He expected her to leave. Instead, she stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint freckles beneath her makeup, the tiny scar above her left eyebrow, the way her professional mask was cracking at the edges. Why didn't you? She asked. Why didn't I what? Make a joke. Take a screenshot. Tell your friends. I've been in the corporate world long enough to know that most men would have leveraged that moment somehow, even unconsciously. But you just protected me. Why? Daniel considered lying or deflecting or saying something safe. Instead, he told the truth. Because I have a daughter, and someday she's going to make mistakes, and I hope that when she does, the people around her choose kindness over cruelty. I'm trying to be the kind of man I want her to find in the world. Lena's breath caught. For a moment, she looked nothing like a CEO, just a woman, disarmed. What's her name? She asked. Your daughter. Maya. She's 7. Does she look like you? Everyone says so. Same dark hair, same stubborn chin. He smiled despite himself. She's smarter than me, though. Way smarter. I doubt that. Lena's voice had gone soft, and when she looked at him now, it was different, like she was actually seeing him for the first time. Thank you, Daniel, for being decent. It seems like that should be the baseline, but it's not in my experience. She turned to leave, and Daniel knew he should let her go, should maintain the distance, should remember that she was his boss, and he was a paycheck away from disaster, and getting involved with her would be categorically insane. Miss Hartley? She stopped, looked back. The photo, he said quietly. For what it's worth, you looked happy. That's the first time I've seen you look happy. It was nice. Their eyes held for 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. Then she left, and Daniel stood alone in the conference room with a toolbox full of solutions for a problem that had never existed in the first place. Thursday, 4:45 p.m. Parkside Elementary School. Lena had no logical reason to be parked across the street from a public elementary school in Arlington at dismissal time. She'd told herself she had a meeting with a potential client nearby, which was technically true. The client was 3 miles away and the meeting wasn't until tomorrow, but still. Technically true. She watched the school doors from behind her sunglasses, engine running, feeling like a stalker. Then he appeared. Daniel's truck was old, a blue Ford F-150 with a dent in the passenger door and a faded bumper sticker that said, "Be kind." He parked in the pickup lane, got out, and leaned against the hood, checking his phone. He looked different out here. Relaxed. The perpetual tension she'd noticed in him at work, the watchfulness, the careful neutrality, had evaporated. He wore jeans and a flannel shirt, and when he smiled at something on his screen, Lena felt something in her chest tighten. The school bell rang. Children poured out like a dam breaking, a chaotic river of backpacks and laughter and end-of-day energy. Parents moved forward to claim their kids, and Daniel straightened, scanning the crowd. Then a little girl in a purple jacket and pink backpack broke free from the throng and ran toward him, ponytail flying. "Dad! Dad! Look what I made!" Daniel dropped to one knee as she crashed into him, catching her easily and examining whatever paper treasure she thrust into his hands. Lena couldn't hear the conversation, but she could see his face transform. Pride, love, absolute devotion radiating from every line of his expression. Maya, it had to be Maya, was talking a mile a minute, gesturing wildly. One of her sneakers was untied, laces dragging on the ground, and Daniel set down her artwork to deal with it. He knelt there on the pavement, tying her shoe with the same methodical care he probably used fixing electrical panels, while she chattered on about her day. Then he lifted her into his arms, effortlessly, like she weighed nothing, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, still talking. He carried her to the truck, settled her in the passenger seat, buckled her seatbelt, handed her the artwork back, and ruffled her hair before closing the door. Lena realized she was crying, not sobbing, just tears sliding silently down her face behind her sunglasses, because she was watching something she'd never had and never thought to want. Simple, uncomplicated love. A father who showed up, a child who knew, bone deep, that she was the center of someone's universe. Her own father had loved her in theory, paid for the best schools, approved of her ambition, showed up to her college graduation. But she couldn't remember him ever kneeling in a parking lot to tie her shoes, couldn't remember being carried, couldn't remember feeling like she mattered more than his next deal. Daniel's truck pulled away, and Lena sat in her car for another 10 minutes, trying to piece herself back together. This was dangerous, this feeling, this fascination with a man who existed in a completely different reality. She ran a tech company. She had a board meeting next week where they'd discuss cutting his job to save money. She dated men with graduate degrees and stock portfolios, men who understood her world, men who could match her ambition. She did not fall for maintenance workers with old trucks and adorable daughters. Except she was starting to understand that Daniel Brooks was more than his job title. He was steady where her world was chaos. He was genuine where everyone else wore masks. He was present in a way that men with more money and status never managed to be. And that terrified her. Friday, 2:30 p.m., Lena's office. The board meeting agenda sat on her desk like a death sentence. Item 7, Operational Cost Reduction Proposal, Facilities Department Outsourcing. Patterson had sent the final numbers that morning. Outsourcing facilities would save $187,000 annually. The contractor could start in 30 days. Current employees would receive 2 weeks severance and job placement assistance. It was good business, rationale, standard practice. Daniel's name was on the termination list. Lena had built her career on making hard decisions. She'd laid off underperforming teams, rejected friends' funding requests, fired executives who couldn't keep up with the company's growth. She believed in meritocracy, efficiency, results. But this felt different. She picked up her phone, pulled up Daniel's employee file. Hired 18 months ago. Previous experience in construction, electrical work, general maintenance, high school education, some community college coursework. Consistent performance reviews, reliable, thorough, professional. No disciplinary issues, no complaints, nothing that justified keeping him when the numbers said to let him go. Nothing except the way he'd protected her dignity, the way he loved his daughter, the way he represented everything her world had forgotten how to value. A knock on her door. Robert poked his head in. "Got a minute?" "Sure." She closed the file. Robert sat down, loosening his tie. "Look, I know you hate the outsourcing plan, but Patterson's right. We're not a charity. We're a business." "I haven't said I hate it." "You don't have to say it. I've known you since you were dating my idiot freshman roommate. You get this look when you're about to fight something on principle instead of logic." Lena leaned back in her chair. "What if the principle is logical? What if treating employees well is actually good for business? Then we treat the ones who drive revenue well, developers, sales, account managers, but facilities? Robert shook his head. They're overhead, Lena. Replaceable overhead. You can't let sentiment cloud your judgment. It's not sentiment. Then what is it? She didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound insane. I saw him with his daughter and realized he's a better person than anyone in this building. I sent him a bikini photo by mistake, and he made me feel safe instead of ashamed. I'm starting to wonder if we've built an empire on forgetting what actually matters. I'll review the proposal, she said instead. We'll discuss it Monday. After Robert left, Lena stood at her window and looked down at the parking lot. Daniel's truck was there, 4th row, near the loading dock. He was probably somewhere in the building right now, fixing something broken, making the infrastructure work so that everyone else could focus on innovation and growth. Invisible labor. Undervalued work. A good man in a system designed to discard good men in favor of quarterly profits. She made a decision. It was probably stupid, possibly career suicide. Definitely complicated. But for the first time in years, it felt right. Saturday, 11 a.m. Arlington Farmers Market. Daniel pushed the shopping cart slowly through the farmers market, Maya skipping ahead to examine the flower stall. Can we get sunflowers? She called back. How much are they? $5 for a bunch. He did the mental math. Groceries for the week would run about $60 if he was careful. He had $73 in his wallet until Tuesday's paycheck. $5 for flowers would mean skipping lunch twice next week. Sure, Bug. Pick out nice ones. Maya's face lit up like he'd handed her the moon. This was his life. Constant calculation, endless trade-offs, small sacrifices that added up to a childhood he hoped was good enough. He tried not to think about what other kids had. Vacations, new clothes, music lessons, college funds. He tried to focus on what he could give. Time, attention, stability, love. Most days it felt like enough. Some days it felt like failing. Mr. Brooks? He turned, and his heart stopped. Lena Hartley stood 3 feet away in jeans and a cream sweater holding a canvas shopping bag full of vegetables. Her hair was down, falling in loose waves past her shoulders. She wore minimal makeup. She looked nothing like the CEO who terrified boardrooms. She looked like someone he might have dated in another life. Ms. Hartley. Hi. I didn't expect to see you here. I live in Alexandria. I come here most Saturdays. She glanced past him toward Maya, who was carefully selecting sunflowers. Is that your daughter? Yeah, Maya. She's beautiful. She's expensive, Daniel joked, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, that was honest? Lena smiled. Kids are supposed to be expensive. That means you're doing it right. Maya came running back, arms full of sunflowers. Dad, look! They're perfect. Can we… Oh! She stopped, suddenly shy, looking at Lena. Sorry, I interrupted. No, you didn't. Lena knelt down, putting herself at Maya's eye level. Those are beautiful flowers. Sunflowers are my favorite. Really? Mine too. Maya's shyness evaporated. I like them because they always face the sun. My dad told me that. He knows lots of stuff about plants and buildings and fixing things. He sounds very smart. He is. He's the smartest person I know. Maya said it with such absolute conviction that Daniel felt his throat tighten. Are you one of his friends? I work with your dad. Oh, are you nice to him? Some people at his work aren't very nice. Lena's expression shifted, surprise, then something deeper. Really? Why do you say that? Because sometimes Dad comes home sad. Not crying sad, just quiet sad. And when I ask him about it, he says work was fine, but I can tell it wasn't. Maya tilted her head, studying Lena with unnerving intensity. But you seem nice. Are you nice to him? Maya, Daniel said quickly, that's not… I'm trying to be, Lena answered, her voice soft. She stood up, meeting Daniel's eyes. I'm trying to be better at noticing people. Your dad is helping me with that. The moment stretched. Around them, the farmers' market continued. Vendors calling out prices, shoppers haggling, children laughing. But in the small circle of space where they stood, everything felt suspended. "We should let you get back to your shopping," Daniel said finally. "Come on, Maya. We need to hit the grocery store before your soccer game." "You play soccer?" Lena asked. "I'm terrible at it," Maya announced cheerfully. "But it's fun anyway. Dad says you don't have to be good at something to enjoy it." "Your dad is a wise man." As they walked away, Maya looked back over her shoulder. "Bye, Dad's friend," Lena waved, smiling. When they were out of earshot, Maya tugged on Daniel's hand. "She's pretty. Is she your girlfriend?" "No, Bug. She's my boss." "Oh." Maya considered this. "Does she have a boyfriend?" "I don't know." "You should ask her." "That's not how it works." "Why not?" "Because we live in different worlds. Because she makes more in a month than I make in a year. Because she has an Ivy League education and I have half a community college degree. Because dating your boss is a catastrophically bad idea. Because even if none of that mattered, I have you to think about, and I won't risk your stability for anything." "It's complicated, Maya." Adults always say that when they mean they're scared. 7 years old, and she could see right through him. Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Lena's apartment. Lena couldn't stop thinking about the farmer's market. She'd gone home, put away her vegetables, tried to work on the quarterly projections, but her mind kept returning to Maya's question. "Are you nice to him?" The implication stung because it was true. She hadn't been nice to Daniel. She'd been professionally courteous when she acknowledged him at all, but mostly she'd rendered him invisible. He was part of the infrastructure, like the heating system or the elevator, necessary but forgettable. She pulled up his employee file again, reading it more carefully this time. Emergency contact. Maya Brooks, daughter. No spouse listed. No other family. Thursday. Early departure. Approval, childcare pickup. Principal caregiver. Salary, $47,000 annually. She did quick math. After taxes, that was probably $35,000 take home. Rent in Arlington was easily $1,500 a month, probably more. That left less than $2,000 monthly for everything else. Food, utilities, childcare, transportation, clothing, medical expenses, school supplies. How did he do it? More importantly, why had she never asked? She thought about the executive team's salaries. Robert made $180,000. She made $350,000, plus stock options and performance bonuses that had pushed her total compensation to nearly $500,000 last year. She lived in a penthouse apartment she rarely spent time in, drove a car that cost more than Daniel's annual salary, bought $5 coffee without thinking twice. He budgeted for sunflowers. The contrast wasn't just striking, it was obscene. Her phone buzzed, text from Jessica. "You've been weird all week. What's going on?" Lena stared at the message, trying to formulate a response that wouldn't sound insane. "I'm developing feelings for a man I have nothing in common with, who works for me, who has a daughter, who I could destroy with a single bad decision, and I can't stop thinking about the way he ties her shoes." She typed, "Just stressed about the board meeting. I'm fine." Jessica's reply was immediate. "Bullshit, I know you. Talk." Against her better judgment, Lena called, "Okay," Jessica said without preamble. "What's his name?" "How do you—" "Because you only get weird like this about men, and you never date anyone worth getting weird about, so this must be different. Spill." Lena sighed. "It's complicated." Adults only say that when they mean they're scared. Did you just quote a 7-year-old to me? What? Nothing. Look, there's this guy. He's not my usual type. Good. Your usual type is boring. What makes him different? Everything. He's got a kid. He works in facilities. He makes $47,000 a year. He ties his daughter's shoes in parking lots. He protected me when he didn't have to. He makes me feel like I've been sleepwalking through my entire life. Silence on the other end. Jess? You're in love with him. I'm not. We've barely talked. I don't even know his favorite color. Lena, you just listed 6 things about him, and 5 of them were about his character, not his credentials. You've never done that before. Ever. Every other guy you've dated, you led with where he went to school or what he does for a living. This time, you led with how he treats his daughter. Lena closed her eyes. It doesn't matter. It can't happen. Why not? Because I'm his boss, because there's a power imbalance, because I have a board meeting Monday where we're voting on whether to eliminate his job, because he lives in a completely different world and I'd be forcing him into mine, because I could ruin his life. Or, Jessica said quietly, he could save yours. Monday, 8:45 a.m. Hartley Tech Solutions boardroom. Lena arrived 15 minutes early, which gave her time to arrange her notes and steel her nerves. The board filtered in, Patterson first, confident and smiling, Robert looking nervous, 3 other members she'd personally recruited who usually voted with her. Let's begin, Lena said once everyone was seated. First item, Q4 projections. They moved through the agenda efficiently. Patterson was pushing his outsourcing proposal to item 7, building anticipation, confident in his victory. When they finally reached it, he smiled. The facilities outsourcing plan is straightforward. We save nearly $200,000 annually, maintain service quality through a reputable contractor, and streamline our operational overhead. I've distributed the full analysis. I move that we vote. Seconded, said Board Member Harrison. Discussion first, Lena said. Patterson's smile tightened. What's to discuss? The numbers are clear. The numbers are clear, Lena agreed, but they don't tell the whole story. What's the turnover rate among our development team? Robert frowned. What does that have to do with? Answer the question. 18% annually, Robert said, which is actually good for our industry. And our employee satisfaction scores? 72% favorable, which is below industry standard for companies our size, Lena finished. Now, what if I told you that exit interviews consistently mention one thing? Our employees feel like the company doesn't value them as people, only as productivity units. Patterson leaned back. Lena, this is getting philosophical. We're talking about outsourcing maintenance, not reimagining corporate culture. We're talking about both, because culture starts with how we treat every employee, not just the ones who code or sell. When we outsource facilities, we're telling our entire workforce that some people matter and some people don't. That loyalty is a one-way street, that will cut costs wherever we can, regardless of impact. That's business, Harrison said. It's short-term business. Long-term, it destroys trust. And trust affects retention, recruitment, productivity, innovation, all the things that actually drive value. Lena pulled out a different folder. I have an alternative proposal. The room went silent. Instead of outsourcing, we invest in our current facilities team. Professional development, better equipment, clear advancement paths. We create a company-wide culture initiative focused on cross-department appreciation. We tie executive bonuses to employee satisfaction metrics, not just revenue targets. Patterson stared at her. You want to spend money on morale? I want to build a company people are proud to work for. One where the guy who fixes the air conditioning gets the same respect as the guy who designs the software, because both are essential. Both make this company function. This is madness, Patterson said. We have a fiduciary duty. To build long-term value, yes, not to maximize this quarter's profit at the expense of next year's catastrophic turnover. Lena met his eyes. I'm not proposing charity. I'm proposing smart business. Companies with strong cultures outperform their competitors consistently. We can be one of them, or we can be another tech firm that treats people like disposable assets and wonders why we can't retain talent. Robert was staring at her like she'd grown a second head. Where is this coming from? From paying attention, Lena said quietly. From realizing that we've been optimizing for the wrong things. I call for a vote, Patterson demanded. So moved, Harrison seconded. They voted. It was close, 4-3. Lena's proposal won. Patterson stood up, jaw tight. This is a mistake. You're letting personal feelings cloud your business judgment. Maybe, Lena said, or maybe I'm finally making decisions that align with my values instead of just my spreadsheets. I guess we'll see. After the meeting, Robert cornered her in the hallway. What the hell was that? That was me remembering why I started this company. This is about him, isn't it? The maintenance guy. Jesus, Lena, are you serious right now? This is about all of them, Robert. Every person in this building who we've treated as expendable. But yes, Daniel made me see it. He made me see a lot of things. You're going to regret this. Probably, Lena said, but not as much as I'd regret the alternative. The news spread through Hartley Tech Solutions like wildfire through dry grass. By noon, everyone knew the board had voted against outsourcing. By 1 o'clock, whispers had morphed into speculation. By 2, the facilities team gathered in their break room, Marcus raising a coffee mug and a toast that Daniel only half participated in. Guess we're not getting axed after all, Marcus said, grinning. Thought for sure Patterson had us. Yeah, Daniel replied, but his mind was elsewhere. He'd been in the basement checking the HVAC system when his supervisor pulled him aside to deliver the news. Relief had hit him first, sharp and overwhelming, the kind that makes your knees weak. He'd have income next month. Maya wouldn't have to switch schools, the fragile stability he'd built wouldn't collapse. But relief gave way to questions he didn't want to ask. Why had Lena fought for them? Patterson had the votes, the savings were real. By every logical business metric, outsourcing made sense. Yet she'd gone to war over a maintenance department that most executives forgot existed. Daniel wasn't naive enough to think it was about him specifically, but he wasn't stupid enough to believe the timing was coincidental either. Brooks, you good? Marcus asked. You look like someone told you you won the lottery but forgot to check the ticket. Just tired, didn't sleep much last night. None of us did. But hey, crack a smile. We get to keep our jobs. Daniel managed a smile, but it felt hollow, because keeping his job meant staying in proximity to Lena Hartley. And proximity to Lena Hartley was becoming increasingly dangerous. He'd spent Sunday night lying awake, replaying the farmer's market encounter, the way she'd knelt to talk to Maya, the softness in her eyes when his daughter said he seemed sad sometimes, the fact that she'd noticed him at all in a context outside of work orders and broken equipment. And now this, a board decision that defied logic unless you factored in something unmeasurable, something human, something that felt suspiciously like she was protecting him. The weight of it pressed against his chest. At 3:15, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Lena. I got your number from HR. Can we talk? My office, 5 p.m.? Daniel stared at the message for a full minute. Around him, Marcus was telling some story about a backed-up toilet on the executive floor, but the words dissolved into white noise. He typed, I'll be there. Her response came immediately. Thank you. The next 90 minutes crawled by with excruciating slowness. At 4:50, Daniel washed the grease from his hands, changed into the clean shirt he kept in his locker, and took the elevator to the 12th floor. The executive suite always felt like a different planet. Thick carpets, modern art on the walls, the kind of silence that money buys. Lena's assistant wasn't at her desk. The door to the corner office was slightly ajar. Daniel knocked. Come in. She stood by the window, backlit by the late afternoon sun streaming through the glass. She'd taken off her suit jacket, and her white blouse was slightly rumpled, sleeves rolled to her elbows. She looked tired, human. Close the door, she said quietly. He did. Thank you for coming. I know this is irregular. It's fine. Daniel stayed near the door, maintaining distance. I heard about the board vote. Everyone's relieved. I'm glad. She turned to face him fully. I wanted you to hear this from me directly. I didn't save your job because of the photo, or because we ran into each other at the farmer's market. I saved everyone's jobs because it was the right decision for the company. Okay. But, she paused, choosing words carefully. I wouldn't have seen that it was the right decision if you hadn't made me question how I've been running things. So indirectly, yes, you influenced it. But the vote wasn't personal, it was business. Daniel nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Of course. What did it cost you? Politically, I mean. Patterson looked ready to murder someone when he left that conference room. Lena's mouth quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. He'll get over it, or he won't. Either way, I made the call I needed to make. That's not an answer. No, it's not. She moved away from the window, closer to him, but still maintaining professional distance. The truth? I probably burned some bridges, made some enemies, showed my hand in terms of what I value versus what they value. But I'd do it again. Why? Because Maya was right. Daniel's breath caught. What? At the farmer's market, she asked if I was nice to you, and the answer was no. I wasn't. I treated you like furniture, like infrastructure, like you were replaceable. Lena's voice dropped. You're not replaceable, Daniel. None of you are, and I'm sorry it took me this long to understand that. The office felt too small, too quiet, too full of everything they weren't saying. You don't owe me an apology, Daniel said. I'm just maintenance. You run a company. Those are different worlds. Stop doing that. Doing what? Diminishing yourself. You're not just anything. You're a skilled technician, a devoted father, and frankly one of the most decent people in this building. The fact that you don't realize that is part of what makes it true. Daniel's hands clenched at his sides. Ms. Hartley. Lena, please, when it's just us, call me Lena. Lena. Her name felt strange on his tongue, intimate in a way that made alarm bells ring in his head. This conversation is headed somewhere dangerous. I know. I work for you. There's a power dynamic. If anyone found out we were even having this discussion, it could be a problem for both of us, especially you. I know that too. Then why are we here? She met his eyes, and the honesty there was almost painful to witness. Because I can't stop thinking about you. And before you panic, I'm not asking you to do anything about it. I'm not propositioning you. I'm not trying to create an uncomfortable situation. I just needed you to know that you've changed something in me, and I wanted to say thank you for that, even if nothing else happens. Daniel felt like the floor had dropped away. Lena, you don't have to respond. You can walk out of here right now, and Monday morning we go back to being professional strangers. I'll respect whatever boundary you need, but I couldn't let another day go by without being honest. He should leave. Every rational part of his brain screamed at him to leave, to thank her politely, excuse himself, and put as much distance between them as possible. Instead, he heard himself say, "You think you can't stop thinking about me? I haven't slept properly in a week. I see you in the hallway, and my heart does this stupid thing where it forgets how to beat normally. I watched you kneel down to talk to my daughter, and something in my chest cracked open. So trust me, you're not alone in this." Lena's expression shifted. Relief, fear, hope, all tangled together. "What do we do?" she whispered. "I don't know. Because wanting this and acting on it are different things. I have Maya to think about, and you have a company to run, and there's no version of this that doesn't get complicated fast." "I know." They stood there, 5 feet of charged air between them, both frozen by the weight of consequences. "I should go," Daniel said finally, "before I do something stupid." "Like what?" "Like cross this office and kiss you until neither of us can remember why it's a bad idea." The words hung between them, raw and dangerous. Lena's breath hitched. That would be very stupid. Catastrophically stupid. Career-endingly stupid. Yeah. Neither of them moved. Then Lena's phone rang, shattering the moment. She glanced at the screen, closed her eyes briefly, and answered, "Robert, hi. No, I'm still in the office. Tomorrow morning? That works." "Okay, see you then." She hung up, and the spell was broken. "You should go," she said, but her voice was unsteady. "This was a mistake. Not talking to you, but saying all that. I put you in an impossible position, and I'm sorry. Don't apologize for being honest." "Then I'm sorry for being honest at the worst possible time." Daniel moved toward the door, but stopped with his hand on the handle. "For what it's worth, if circumstances were different, if I didn't work for you, if there wasn't so much at stake, I'd be asking you to dinner right now." "Where would you take me?" He looked back at her. "Nowhere fancy. There's a Vietnamese place in Arlington that makes the best pho in the state. Maya and I go there on special occasions. It's loud and crowded and the tables wobble, but the food's incredible and the owners treat you like family." Lena smiled, and it reached her eyes this time. "That sounds perfect. In another life, maybe." "Yeah, in another life." Daniel left before he could change his mind. The next 2 weeks existed in a strange limbo, where everything and nothing changed simultaneously. Lena kept her distance. No more fake work orders, no more private conversations. Daniel threw himself into his job with renewed focus, spending extra hours rewiring outdated electrical panels and reorganizing the maintenance supply room. They passed each other in hallways, made eye contact, looked away. But the awareness never diminished. If anything, it intensified. Daniel started noticing things he'd never paid attention to before. The way Lena took her coffee, black, no sugar. The fact that she stayed late every Tuesday, working past midnight on something that made her shoulders tense. How she always held the elevator for people, even when she was clearly in a hurry. And he knew she was noticing him too, because sometimes he'd catch her watching from her office window as he loaded equipment into his truck. Or she'd pause mid-conversation with an executive to observe him replacing a ceiling tile. They were circling each other like binary stars, separate but gravitationally bound, pulled by forces neither fully understood nor could fully resist. Maya noticed his distraction during their bedtime routine one Thursday evening. "Dad, you're not listening." "I'm listening, Bug. You were talking about the science project." "That was 10 minutes ago. Now I'm talking about Emily's birthday party. Are you okay?" "You've been weird." Daniel set down the book they'd been reading. "Define weird." "Spacey. Like you're thinking about something else all the time." She studied him with those too perceptive 7-year-old eyes. "Is it about the pretty lady from the farmer's market?" "What? No. Why would you think that?" "Because you smiled when I mentioned her, and you never smile when you're thinking about work stuff. Plus, you've been humming." "I don't hum." "You've been humming. That song from my Encanto soundtrack. The romantic one." Daniel rubbed his face. "Okay, you caught me. I've been distracted, but it's nothing for you to worry about." "Is she nice to you now?" "Yeah, Bug. She's nice to me." "Good. You deserve nice people." Maya yawned, snuggling deeper into her pillow. "If you like her, you should tell her. Life's too short to be scared." "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just haven't been paying attention." After Maya fell asleep, Daniel sat in his small living room with a beer he didn't drink and tried to figure out what the hell he was doing. He was 32 years old, raising a daughter alone, barely making ends meet. He had no business entertaining fantasies about a woman who lived in a different stratosphere, but life's too short to be scared. His daughter's words echoed in the dark. At Hartley Tech Solutions' annual gala planning meeting 3 weeks later, Lena made a decision that would change everything. "We're doing something different this year," she announced to the executive team. "The gala isn't just for management anymore. We're inviting the entire company, all departments, all levels." Robert nearly choked on his coffee. "All 800 employees? Lena, the venue only holds 400. Then we'll find a bigger venue, or do 2 events. The point is, everyone gets to participate. This is a company celebration, not an executive party." "That's going to cost a fortune," Patterson said. "And logistically, we'll figure it out. Start making calls." "I want this done." After the meeting, Robert cornered her again. This was becoming a pattern. "This is still about him, isn't it?" "It's about culture, Robert, about walking the talk. We can't claim to value everyone equally and then exclude most of the company from our biggest event. You're playing a dangerous game." "Maybe, but it's my game to play." The invitations went out the following week. Daniel received his in the inter-office mail, thick cardstock, elegant script, the kind of invitation he'd never received before. "You're cordially invited to the Hartley Tech Solutions annual gala. Friday, November 15th, the Waterfront Hotel, Alexandria. Cocktail attire, +1 welcome." He read it 3 times, trying to decide if it was real or some elaborate mistake. Marcus found him staring at it in the break room. "You going?" "I don't know, probably not." "Why not?" "It's free food and an open bar. I'm definitely going. Might even bring a date." "I don't own a suit." "So rent one or buy one from Target. Come on, Brooks. When's the last time you did something just for yourself?" Daniel couldn't remember. That evening, he mentioned the gala to Maya over dinner. Spaghetti with jarred sauce, her favorite. "You should go, Dad. You never go anywhere fun." "It's a work thing, Bug. It'll be boring." "Then why are you thinking about it so hard?" "Because Lena would be there. Because some self-destructive part of him wanted to see her in that context. Dressed up, social, surrounded by her world. Because he wanted to prove, maybe just to himself, that he could exist in her orbit without dissolving. "I'll think about it," he said. Maya grinned. "You're going, I can tell." 3 days later, Daniel stood in a men's warehouse trying on suits he couldn't afford. The salesman was patient, pulling options that fit his budget, or close to it. "This one works well," the salesman said, adjusting the shoulders of a charcoal gray suit. "Classic cut. good fabric. You could wear it to weddings, funerals, job interviews. Daniel studied his reflection. He looked different, older somehow, more substantial, like someone who might belong at a corporate gala instead of fixing the air conditioning there. I'll take it. The total came to $237 with alterations. He handed over his credit card and tried not to think about the fact that it represented almost a week's take-home pay. On the evening of the gala, Daniel dropped Maya at his neighbor's apartment, Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher who watched her on the rare occasions he had evening obligations. "You look handsome," Mrs. Chen said. "Hot date?" "Work event." "In a brand new suit?" "Sure, work event." She winked. "Have fun. Don't do anything I wouldn't do." The waterfront hotel was everything Daniel expected. Soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, views of the Potomac that probably cost extra. He felt out of place the moment he walked through the doors, despite the suit. The ballroom was already half full with employees he recognized and executives he didn't. A string quartet played near the windows. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that were more art than food. Marcus appeared at his elbow, looking uncomfortable in a navy suit. "This is fancy as hell. I already broke one of those tiny fork things. Pretty sure it cost more than my car payment." Daniel laughed despite his nerves. "Come on, let's find the bar." They were halfway across the room when Daniel saw her. Lena stood near the far windows in a floor-length emerald dress that somehow managed to be both elegant and understated. Her hair was swept up, exposing the graceful line of her neck. She was talking to a group of investors, smiling that professional smile he'd seen her deploy 1,000 times. Then she glanced up, and their eyes met across the crowded ballroom. The smile faltered, became real. "Oh, you're screwed," Marcus muttered. "That's the boss, right? The one who saved our jobs?" "Yeah." "And you've got it bad for her. Is it that obvious?" "Brother, everyone within a 10-foot radius can feel the heat coming off you right now. Either go talk to her or stop staring before someone notices." Daniel forced himself to look away, but the damage was done now. His heart was racing, palms sweating, every nerve ending hyper-aware that she was in the same room. He made it another 20 minutes before she appeared at his side. "You came," Lena said quietly. "You invited me." "I invited everyone. I wasn't sure you'd actually show up." "Neither was I." They stood there, maintaining careful distance, acutely aware of the eyes around them. A few people glanced their way with curiosity, but no one approached. "You look different," Lena said. "So do you. Different good or different bad?" "Dangerous," Daniel answered honestly. She smiled, and it wasn't her professional smile. It was the real one, the one that made his chest tight. "Want to get some air? It's stuffy in here." "Is that a good idea?" "Probably not, but I've been making safe decisions my whole life, and I'm tired of it." They slipped out through a side door onto a terrace overlooking the water. The November air was cool but not cold, carrying the salt metal smell of the river. Lights from the city reflected off the dark water in wavering columns. Lena leaned against the railing, and Daniel stood beside her, maintaining that careful distance. "Thank you for coming tonight," she said. "It means a lot that people actually showed up. Patterson was convinced this would be a disaster. Marcus is in there trying to figure out what caviar is. Pretty sure he's having the time of his life." She laughed, and the sound was genuine. "See? This is what I wanted. Real people having real experiences, not just executives schmoozing for deals. You're changing things. People notice. Some people think I'm destroying things. Those people are idiots." Lena turned to look at him. "You always do that. Defend me. Even when I don't deserve it. You deserve more credit than you give yourself." "Daniel..." She stopped, reconsidered. "Can I ask you something personal? Depends on the question. Why did your wife leave?" He hadn't expected that. The question sat between them, heavy with implications. "She didn't want to be a mother," he said finally. "Or she wanted it in theory, but the reality was harder than she expected. Maya cried a lot as a baby. Money was tight. I was working 2 jobs. Sarah felt trapped. One day she sat me down and said she'd made a mistake, that this life wasn't what she signed up for, and she was leaving. That must have been devastating. It was a relief, honestly. The marriage was already dead. We were just going through motions. The hard part was explaining to a 3-year-old why mommy didn't want to be around anymore. Daniel's jaw tightened. Sarah sends birthday cards sometimes, calls on Christmas, but she's not part of our lives. It's just me and Maya. She's an idiot for leaving, or smart for knowing what she couldn't handle. Not everyone's built for that kind of sacrifice. You make it sound noble. What she did was abandonment. Maybe, but I got Maya out of it, so I can't regret it too much. Lena was quiet for a long moment, then, my father loved me in his way, but he was never really present, always chasing the next deal, the next merger, the next conquest. I learned early that love was transactional. You earned it through achievement. When I started the company, he was proud. Not because of what I'd built, but because of what it said about him, having raised a successful daughter. That's lonely. It is. But I thought that's just how the world worked, until I saw you with Maya. The way you look at her like she's the center of the universe. The way you kneel in parking lots to tie her shoes. The way you budget for sunflowers because they make her happy. Lena's voice went soft. That's when I realized I've been living my whole life wrong. Daniel turned to face her fully. You haven't been living wrong. You've been surviving a different kind of hard. But you're here now. You're changing. That counts for something. Does it? Yeah, it does. The terrace door opened and Robert stepped out. He stopped when he saw them, his expression darkening. Lena, people are asking for you. The Meridian investors want to... He paused. Am I interrupting something? No, Lena said smoothly, stepping away from the railing. We were just getting some air. I'll be right there. Robert's gaze flicked between them, calculating. Brooks, good to see you. Enjoying the gala? Yes, sir. Glad everyone could make it. Real democratic. His tone suggested the opposite. Lena, shall we? After they left, Daniel stayed on the terrace alone, watching the river and trying to calm his racing heart. This was getting out of control. They were getting sloppy, taking risks in plain sight. Someone was going to notice. Someone probably already had. He should leave, go home, put distance between them before this thing, whatever this was, imploded and took them both down. Instead, he went back inside and spent the rest of the evening hyper-aware of exactly where Lena was in the room, who she was talking to, how often she glanced his way when she thought no one was watching. At 11:30, the gala began winding down. Daniel was saying goodbye to Marcus when a waiter approached. Excuse me, Mr. Brooks. Miss Hartley asked me to give you this. He handed Daniel a folded note on hotel stationery. Room 412. If you want to talk, no pressure. Just an option. Daniel stared at the note for a full minute while his brain waged war with itself. This was the line, the point of no return. Going to that room meant crossing from attraction into action, from possibility into reality. It meant risking everything, his job, her reputation, the careful stability he'd built for Maya. It also meant being honest about what he wanted for the first time in years. He found himself in the elevator before he'd consciously decided to move. The ride to the 4th floor felt both endless and instantaneous. The hallway was empty, quiet, the kind of expensive silence that hotels cultivate. Room 412. He knocked. Lena opened the door, still wearing the emerald dress, but barefoot now, her hair down, makeup slightly smudged. She looked nervous, hopeful, terrified. You came, she whispered. I shouldn't have. I know. This is a terrible idea. I know that too. I have a daughter to think about, and you have a company to protect, and there's no way this ends well. I know. Lena's voice was steady, despite the fear in her eyes. But I'm so tired of making smart decisions that leave me empty. I'm tired of living behind glass walls. I'm tired of pretending I don't feel this. Daniel stepped into the room, letting the door close behind him. If we do this, he said quietly, we do it right. No hiding, no shame. We figure out how to make it work, or we don't do it at all. I won't be your secret, and I won't let Maya be collateral damage. I wouldn't ask you to be. Then what are you asking? Lena moved closer, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her eyes, smell her perfume, feel the heat radiating from her skin. I'm asking for a chance, to see if this thing between us is real, to find out if someone like me can fit into someone like you's world, and vice versa. I'm asking you to take a risk on something that scares the hell out of me." Daniel's hand came up, cupping her face. She leaned into the touch. "I can't offer you what you're used to," he said. "I can't take you to five-star restaurants or buy you expensive things. I can't jet off to Paris on a whim. My life is grocery store budgets and parent-teacher conferences and worrying about Maya's college fund. I don't want Paris. I want real. I want honest. I want someone who sees me, not what I've built. And I want you to know that I see you too. Not as maintenance, not as a job title, but as a man who's taught me more about integrity in 3 weeks than anyone else has in my entire life." He kissed her then, because words weren't enough anymore. Kissed her like she was oxygen and he was drowning, like the world outside that hotel room didn't exist, like consequences were someone else's problem. She kissed him back with the same desperate certainty, fingers tangling in his hair, body pressed against his. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "This is going to be complicated," he said. "I know. People are going to judge. Your board will have opinions. There will be consequences. Let them come. Lena, I'm serious. I've spent my whole life worrying about what other people think, playing it safe, building walls. And where has it gotten me? A corner office and an empty apartment. I don't want that anymore. I want this. I want you, even if it's messy, even if it's hard." Daniel pulled back enough to look at her properly. "I need you to be sure. Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. And if you change your mind later, if the reality doesn't match the fantasy, it's not just me who gets hurt. It's Maya too. And I won't let her go through that." "I'm sure," Lena said. "I've never been more sure of anything." They stood there in the hotel room, balanced on the knife's edge of before and after, both knowing that what happened next would define everything. Outside, the city glittered like a promise. Inside, two people from impossible different worlds chose each other anyway. Daniel stayed until 2 in the morning, though they spent most of that time just talking. They sat on the hotel room floor with their backs against the bed, shoes discarded, the emerald dress pooling around Lena's legs like water, his suit jacket draped over a chair. Between them lay the careful architecture of 2 lives being slowly, deliberately dismantled and rebuilt. "Tell me about the worst day you've had this year," Lena said, her head resting on his shoulder. Daniel thought about it. "Maya got sent home from school with a fever in March. I had to leave work early, and my supervisor wasn't happy about it. Then I found out she had strep throat, which meant antibiotics I couldn't afford, and missing 3 days of work I couldn't afford to miss. I sat in the pharmacy parking lot doing math in my head, trying to figure out if I should skip my electric bill or my car insurance to cover everything." "What did you do?" "Paid for the medicine. Unplugged everything in the apartment except the fridge for 2 weeks to save on the electric bill. Made it work." He paused. "What about you? Worst day?" "The day I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed. Really laughed, not that polite networking chuckle. I was in a meeting with investors, performing competence and confidence, and suddenly I couldn't remember what joy felt like. I excused myself, locked myself in the bathroom, and just stood there staring at my reflection, wondering when I'd become so empty." Daniel turned to look at her. "When was that?" 2 months ago, right before you started fixing things on the executive floor more often." "I wasn't fixing things. Marcus usually handles that floor. I volunteered for those work orders." "Why?" "Because I'd seen you in the lobby one morning, and you looked so untouchable and so lonely at the same time, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I told myself I was being stupid, that I was just another employee you'd never notice, but I kept finding excuses to be in your orbit anyway." Lena lifted her head to meet his eyes. "I noticed. I pretended not to, but I noticed. The way you worked, so focused, so thorough, the way you always cleaned up after yourself. The way you'd nod politely if we passed in the hallway, but never tried to chat me up or angle for attention. You were the only person in that building who didn't want something from me. I wanted something." "What?" "To know if you ever smiled when no one was performing for." She kissed him then, soft and slow, and it felt like an answer to questions neither of them had known how to ask. When Daniel finally left, the hotel hallway was silent and surreal. He rode the elevator down feeling like he'd just signed a contract written in a language he didn't fully understand. The night air hit him when he stepped outside, sharp and clarifying. His truck sat alone in the far corner of the parking lot, and the drive home gave him too much time to think. What had he just done? He'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Kissed his boss. Made promises about figuring things out. Agreed to something that would require navigating minefields of corporate policy and public perception and personal vulnerability. But when he climbed into bed at 3 in the morning, he didn't regret it. Mrs. Chen brought Maya home at 9 the next morning, eyeing Daniel with obvious curiosity. Long night? Long enough? You look different, happy different. I'm just tired. Uh-huh. Well, your daughter made me promise to teach her how to make dumplings next weekend, so I hope whatever kept you out until 3 in the morning was worth it. After they left, Maya climbed onto the couch beside him. Did you have fun at your work party? Yeah, Bug, I did. Was the pretty lady there? Daniel hesitated, then decided honesty was better than lies. Even edited honesty. She was. Did you talk to her? We talked. And? And what? Dad. Maya fixed him with that look, the one that said she was 7 going on 30 and saw right through him. You've been smiling at your phone all morning. Something happened. Maybe something happened. She grinned. I knew it. Is she your girlfriend now? It's complicated, Maya. She's still my boss. There are rules about that kind of thing, and we have to figure out how to do this right, because anything we do affects you too. How does it affect me? Well, if I'm dating someone, that person might be around more. You'd have to get to know them, and people might have opinions about it, which could be uncomfortable. Maya thought about this seriously. Is she nice? Very nice. Does she make you happy? Yeah, she does. Then I don't care what other people think. Life's too short to be scared, remember? Daniel pulled her into a hug. When did you get so wise? I told you already. I've always been wise. The weekend passed in a strange bubble of normalcy and anticipation. Daniel took Maya to her soccer game, grocery shopping, the library. They made spaghetti again and watched a movie. Normal life, except he kept checking his phone and finding messages from Lena that made his chest tight. Saturday afternoon. I can't stop thinking about last night. Saturday evening. Is it too soon to say I miss you? Sunday morning. Maya's lucky to have you. I hope someday she thinks I'm worthy of being around. Sunday night. I'm nervous about Monday, about seeing you at work and having to pretend nothing's changed. He responded to each one carefully, aware that text messages were digital evidence, permanent records of something that still felt fragile and new. I can't stop thinking about it either. Not too soon. I miss you too. She'll love you. Give it time. We'll figure it out, one day at a time. Monday morning arrived heavy with unspoken tension. Daniel dropped Maya at school and drove to work on autopilot, his mind spinning through scenarios. They needed to tell HR. They needed to establish boundaries. They needed to be transparent before someone else noticed and turned it into something sordid. But when he walked into the building at 7:15, the facility supervisor was waiting for him. Brooks, got a minute? Sure, what's up? Conference room, now. Daniel's stomach dropped. The supervisor's expression was neutral but serious, and neutral serious in corporate environments usually meant trouble. The conference room held 3 people: the supervisor, someone from HR he vaguely recognized, and Robert Chen. Have a seat, Daniel, the HR representative said. She was a thin woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a manila folder that probably contained his termination papers. What's this about? We received a complaint, Robert said, his voice clipped and professional. An anonymous complaint suggesting inappropriate conduct between you and Ms. Hartley. The room tilted slightly. What kind of inappropriate conduct? The complaint alleges that you've been pursuing a personal relationship with Ms. Hartley, leveraging your position to gain favorable treatment, and that Friday's gala included behavior that crossed professional boundaries. Daniel forced himself to stay calm. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? The HR representative asked. He could lie, deny everything, play it safe. But that would make Lena a liar too when they inevitably questioned her, and he wouldn't do that. Lena and I have developed feelings for each other. Nothing's been hidden or leveraged. We talked about it privately. We both acknowledged it's complicated, and we were planning to come to HR this week to figure out how to handle it properly. Robert's jaw tightened. You're admitting to a relationship with your superior? I'm admitting to honest communication about attraction. We haven't acted on it in any way that violates company policy, and we have no intention of doing so without proper protocols. You were seen alone with her on the terrace Friday night. Multiple witnesses. We talked. That's not illegal. It's a judgment issue, Brooks. She's the CEO. You work in facilities. The optics are that two adults are being honest about their feelings instead of sneaking around. Yeah, terrible optics. The HR representative held up a hand. Everyone take a breath. Daniel, I appreciate your honesty. However, you need to understand the position this puts the company in. Ms. Hartley has significant power over your employment. Any relationship between you creates potential liability for harassment claims, favoritism, hostile work environment. I understand that, which is why we were going to address it through proper channels. The proper channel would have been to disclose immediately and request a transfer or reassignment to eliminate the reporting structure. We were together for the first time Friday night. Today is Monday. We haven't exactly had time to file paperwork. Robert leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign a statement saying there's been no physical relationship. You're going to commit to maintaining professional boundaries going forward, and you're going to understand that any further incidents will result in termination. Are we clear? No. Three faces registered shock. Excuse me, Robert said. I'm not signing anything that requires me to lie. And I'm not going to pretend nothing happened because it makes you uncomfortable. Daniel stood up. If you want to fire me, fire me. But I'm not going to throw Lena under the bus or hide like I've done something wrong when I haven't. You're being incredibly stupid right now, Robert said. Maybe, but I'm being honest. The HR representative exchanged a glance with the supervisor. We'll need to speak with Ms. Hartley before making any decisions. You're suspended pending investigation. Go home. We'll be in touch. Daniel left the building 15 minutes later with his personal items in a cardboard box and the distinct feeling that he'd just destroyed his life. He sat in his truck in the parking lot, trying to process what had just happened. Suspended. Under investigation. Possibly about to be fired for the crime of being honest. His phone buzzed. Lena. What the hell is happening? Robert just told me you've been suspended. I'm coming to talk to you. He typed back, don't, you'll make it worse. I'll call you tonight. Daniel, I need to know what happened. They know. Someone reported us. I told them the truth. Now I'm suspended, and you're probably next. 3 dots appeared and disappeared multiple times before her response came through. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. Where are you? Parking lot. About to leave. Wait for me. Please. 5 minutes later, Lena emerged from the building walking so fast she was almost running. She wore a charcoal suit and heels that clicked against the pavement, her expression fierce and determined. She yanked open the passenger door of his truck and climbed in. You can't be here, Daniel said. If someone sees, I don't care. Tell me exactly what happened. He recounted the meeting word for word. Her expression grew darker with each sentence. Robert had no right to ambush you like that, and they can't suspend you without cause. They have cause. We're involved. I admitted it. Being involved isn't against company policy if we disclose it properly. Lena, they offered me an out. Sign a statement saying nothing happened, maintain distance, keep my job. I said no. Why? Because I won't lie about you, about us. And I won't pretend I'm ashamed of something that's the best thing that's happened to me in years. She stared at him, eyes bright with unshed tears. You could lose your job. I know. You have Maya to think about. I know that too. Then why? Because you were right Friday night. I'm tired of living scared. I'm tired of playing it safe and making myself small. If they fire me for being honest, then this isn't the kind of place I want to work anyway. Lena reached across the console and took his hand. I'm going to fix this. You can't. Not without making it worse. Watch me. She squeezed his hand once, hard, then climbed out of the truck. Go home. Take care of Maya. Let me handle this. Lena! But she was already walking back toward the building, shoulders set, ready for war. Daniel drove home in a daze. He had 4 hours before Maya's school dismissal. 4 hours to figure out how to explain that Daddy might have lost his job because he fell for someone he shouldn't have. His phone rang at 11. Unknown number. Mr. Brooks? This is Patricia Vance from Hartley Tech HR. Can you come back to the office at 2 p.m.? Hartley has requested an emergency meeting with all parties involved. At 1:45, Daniel walked back into the building he'd left in disgrace 3 hours earlier. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt like ascending to his own execution. The conference room held more people this time. Lena sat at the head of the table, flanked by Patricia from HR and a man Daniel didn't recognize, expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of presence that screamed lawyer. Robert sat on the opposite side looking furious. The facilities supervisor was there too, looking uncomfortable. "Thank you for coming, Daniel," Lena said formally. "Please sit." He took the empty chair farthest from everyone. Lena folded her hands on the table. "I've spent the last 3 hours reviewing our company policies, consulting with legal counsel, and examining the situation from every angle. Here's what's going to happen. First, Daniel's suspension is lifted immediately with full pay for today. The anonymous complaint has been investigated and found to be without merit." Robert started to speak, but Lena cut him off with a look. "Second, Daniel and I are formally disclosing a personal relationship. Per company policy, this requires restructuring the reporting chain to eliminate any direct supervisory connection. Effective immediately, Daniel will report to Marcus Williams, who will report to the facilities director, who will report to operations, who will report to Robert. At no point will Daniel report directly or indirectly to me." The lawyer nodded. "This complies with policy and eliminates liability concerns." "Third," Lena continued, her voice hard now, "I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm the CEO. Yes, Daniel works in facilities. Yes, that creates optics challenges. But we are both consenting adults who have been nothing but transparent once we recognized what was happening. Anyone who has a problem with that is welcome to bring it to me directly instead of filing anonymous complaints like a coward." Robert's face was red. "Lena, this is still what, Robert? Still inappropriate? Still bad for the company? Let me be very clear about something. I have spent 4 years building this company while sacrificing my personal life, my health, and my happiness. I have made this company profitable, stable, and growing. I have earned the right to make choices about my own life without seeking permission from the board or you. The board will have opinions. Then the board can vote me out. But until they do, I make the calls, and I'm calling this one." She turned to Daniel. "If you're willing to accept the reporting structure change, we can move forward. If you'd prefer to find employment elsewhere, I'll provide excellent references and a generous severance package. Your choice." Daniel met her eyes across the table. She was giving him an exit, a clean break with money and dignity intact. Part of him wanted to take it, to walk away from the scrutiny and judgment and complication. But that would mean losing her, losing this chance at something real. "I'll accept the reporting change," he said. Relief flickered across Lena's face before she masked it. "Good. Patricia will draw up the paperwork. Robert, unless you have legitimate business concerns, this meeting is over." After everyone filed out, Lena and Daniel were left alone in the conference room. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Don't thank me. I should have handled this better from the start. I should have anticipated that someone would notice and weaponize it. Who do you think filed the complaint? Patterson, probably. Or someone who thinks getting rid of me would create opportunities for themselves." She rubbed her temples. "Welcome to my world, where people turn personal lives into political currency. Are you sure you want to do this? Because it's not too late to back out. I can find another job. We can walk away clean." Lena stood up and walked around the table to where he sat. "I don't want clean. I don't want easy. I want you. Is that crazy?" "Completely." "Good. I'm tired of sane." That evening, Daniel picked up Maya from school and took her to get ice cream, a celebration she didn't understand but enthusiastically supported. "Why are we celebrating?" she asked, chocolate chip mint dripping down her hand. "Because sometimes you have a really hard day and you survive it, and that's worth celebrating." "Was work hard?" "Yeah, Bug, work was hard. But you're okay now." "I'm okay now." She studied him seriously. "Is this about the pretty lady?" Daniel hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, some people at work don't think I should spend time with her because she's my boss. So we had to figure out how to make it okay. Did you figure it out? I think so, but it might stay complicated for a while. Maya licked her ice cream thoughtfully. Can I meet her? Like, really meet her? Not just see her at the farmer's market? You want to meet her? Well, if she's going to be around, I should know her. That's what you always say about my friend's parents. Daniel's throat tightened. You're right. That's exactly what I say. So can I? Let me talk to her, see if she's ready for that. Okay. Maya swung her legs, kicking the air. I hope she likes soccer. You should date someone who likes soccer. I'll add that to my criteria. That night after Maya was asleep, Daniel called Lena. How are you? She asked immediately. Tired? Stressed? Weirdly hopeful. How about you? Robert's furious. Patterson's already emailed the board. I'm going to spend tomorrow doing damage control, but I don't regret it. Maya wants to meet you, officially. Silence on the other end, then, Really? Really? She wants to make sure you like soccer. Lena's laugh was shaky. I've never been to a soccer game in my life. Well, there's one Saturday morning. You could come. No pressure, but the offer's there. Daniel, are you sure? Meeting your daughter? That's big. That's real. I know, that's why I'm asking, because this is real for me. If it's not real for you, tell me now. It's real, she said quietly. It terrifies me, but it's real. Then come to the soccer game, wear jeans, bring coffee. Prepare to be bored out of your mind because 7-year-old recreational soccer is 90% kids standing around confused. I'll be there. Saturday morning was cold and gray, the kind of November weather that threatened rain without delivering. Daniel arrived at the soccer field with Maya at 8:30, helping her into her purple jersey and shin guards while she bounced with pre-game energy. Is she coming? Maya asked for the third time. She said she would. What if she doesn't? Then she doesn't, and we deal with it. But I want her to come. I know, Bug. Me too. At 8:40, a silver sedan pulled into the parking lot, and Lena emerged wearing jeans, a cream sweater, and a slightly panicked expression. She carried 2 coffee cups from the expensive place downtown. Maya's face lit up. She came! Dad, she came! Go say hi, but remember, be yourself. Don't interrogate her. Maya ran across the field, purple jersey flying, and came to a breathless stop in front of Lena. Daniel followed at a more measured pace, watching the interaction. Hi, Maya said. You came! I promised I would. Lena held out one of the coffee cups. I wasn't sure what kind you'd like, so I got hot chocolate. Is that okay? I love hot chocolate. Thank you. Maya took the cup carefully. Are you nervous? A little bit. I've never been to a kid's soccer game before. It's not scary. We're not very good yet, but we're learning. Dad says the point is to have fun and try hard, not to win. Your dad sounds very wise. He is. He knows everything about fixing things and being nice and making spaghetti. Maya paused. Do you like spaghetti? I do. Good. Dad makes the best spaghetti. He uses the sauce from a jar, but he adds secret ingredients to make it special. Daniel reached them in time to hear this revelation. Maya, you're giving away my cooking secrets. She should know. She might eat dinner with us sometime. Maya looked between them with complete 7-year-old certainty. Right? You're going to have dinner with us? Lena glanced at Daniel, who shrugged helplessly. If your dad invites me, I'd love to. Dad, invite her. Maya, Dad, would you like to have dinner with us sometime? Daniel asked, trying not to smile. I would be honored, Lena said seriously. Good. That's settled. Maya took a sip of her hot chocolate. I have to go warm up now. The game starts soon. You can sit on the bench with Dad. He yells encouragement, but not in an embarrassing way. She ran off toward her team, leaving Daniel and Lena standing awkwardly in the middle of a soccer field. She's incredible, Lena said. She's terrifying. She has 0 filter. I like that about her. They found spots on the parent bench, close enough to talk quietly but maintaining respectful distance. Around them, other parents set up camp chairs and thermoses, the familiar Saturday morning ritual of youth sports. The game started, and it was exactly as Daniel had described. Chaotic, adorable, completely devoid of strategy. Maya spent most of the first half running in the wrong direction, but she was smiling the entire time. Number 7 just kicked the ball into his own goal, Lena observed. That's Tommy. He does that every week. No one has the heart to tell him. This is amazing. I had no idea this existed. What, children's soccer? No, this whole world. Parents on sidelines, kids just playing for fun, everyone supporting each other even when it's a disaster. It's so far from what I grew up with. What was your childhood like? Structured, private coaches, competitive everything, results-oriented. I was playing club soccer by age 8, traveling nationally by 10. It wasn't about fun. It was about building my resume for college applications. Did you like it? I don't remember being asked if I liked it. I was good at it, which was what mattered. Daniel watched Maya trip over the ball and laugh about it. That sounds lonely. It was, but I didn't know any different. Lena turned to look at him. This, though? What you're building with Maya. She's going to remember this. She's going to remember that you showed up and cheered for her even when she was terrible, and that's going to matter more than any trophy. I hope so. Maya's team lost spectacularly, 7-2, but she came running over afterward grinning like she'd won the World Cup. Did you see my almost goal? I saw it, Bug. You were so close. Next time I'll make it. She turned to Lena. What did you think? I think you're very fast and very determined, and you have excellent team spirit. Maya beamed. Thank you. Hey, can Lena come to lunch with us? We always go to the diner after games. Daniel caught Lena's eye, giving her an out if she needed it. I'd love to, Lena said. The diner was packed with other soccer families, loud and chaotic and perfect. They squeezed into a booth, Maya insisting Lena sit next to her so she could tell her about everything. And she did. Maya talked nonstop through lunch, about school, her friends, the birdhouse she'd built, her upcoming science project on butterflies, her favorite books, her hatred of Brussels sprouts. Lena listened to every word, asked questions, laughed at Maya's jokes. Daniel watched them and felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't a fantasy anymore. This was real, messy and complicated and absolutely terrifying, but real. When they finally left the diner, Maya hugged Lena goodbye without hesitation. Thank you for coming to my game. Will you come to the next one? Lena glanced at Daniel, who nodded. I'll be there, she promised. After Maya buckled herself into the truck, she waved enthusiastically as Lena drove away. I like her, Dad. She's nice. And she didn't pretend to know about soccer when she didn't. I appreciate honesty. Me too, Bug. Are you going to marry her? Daniel nearly drove off the road. What? Are you going to marry her? Because if you are, I should know. I need time to prepare my flower girl dress. Maya, we've been on one date. Actually, I'm not sure that counted as a date. Let's slow down. Okay, but when you do decide, I want to be involved in the planning. I have ideas about centerpieces. Noted. That night after Maya was asleep, Lena called. Thank you for today, she said, for letting me into your world, for trusting me with Maya. Thank you for showing up, for being yourself, for not running away when she asked about spaghetti. Why would I run away? Because this is real now. It's not just us anymore. It's Maya, too. And that changes everything. I know. That's what makes it matter. Daniel closed his eyes, phone pressed to his ear, and let himself believe it might actually work. I'm falling in love with you, he said quietly. I probably shouldn't say that this soon, but I am. And I need you to know that before we go any further, because this isn't casual for me. This is terrifying and real, and I'm all in. Silence on the other end, long enough that he started to panic. Then, I'm falling in love with you too. And it's the scariest thing I've ever felt, but I don't want to stop feeling it. Even though it's complicated, especially because it's complicated. Nothing worth having is easy, right? Right. They talked for another hour about nothing and everything. Her day, his day, Maya's request to prepare a flower girl dress, the absurdity of 7-year-old logic, the way the world looked different when you had someone to share it with. When they finally hung up, Daniel lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how a wrong text message had led to this. To hope, to possibility, to something that felt like the beginning of everything. Outside his window, Alexandria settled into Saturday night quiet. Inside his small apartment, a new future was taking shape, fragile and uncertain, but undeniably real. And for the first time in years, Daniel let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, he deserved it. The weeks that followed the soccer game settled into a rhythm that felt both natural and surreal. Lena showed up to Maya's games every Saturday morning, armed with hot chocolate and increasingly confident cheers. Daniel started having dinner at Lena's penthouse on Wednesday nights, after Maya went to bed at Mrs. Chen's, the two of them cooking together in a kitchen that had never been properly used before. Maya started calling Lena by her first name instead of the pretty lady, which Daniel took as a victory. But the rest of the world wasn't adjusting quite as smoothly. The whispers at Hartley Tech Solutions started subtle, lingering glances, conversations that stopped when Daniel entered a room, speculation disguised as concern. Marcus pulled him aside one Monday afternoon while they were reorganizing the supply closet. "People are talking," Marcus said bluntly. "Let them talk. Brooks, I'm serious. Half the building thinks you're using her for job security. The other half thinks she's lost her mind. Neither version is good for you. What do you think?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, sorting through boxes of light bulbs. "I think you look happier than I've ever seen you. I think she shows up to watch your kid play soccer in weather that would keep most CEOs in bed. I think whatever's happening between you two is real. But real doesn't mean easy, and you need to be prepared for that." Daniel leaned against the shelving unit. "I know, trust me, I know." "Does Maya know about the complications?" "She knows some people don't approve. She told me those people need to mind their own business." Marcus laughed. "That kid's got more sense than most adults. Listen, I got your back, whatever happens. But you should know Patterson's been asking questions, digging around, trying to find something to use against Lena." "What kind of questions?" "About your work history, your performance reviews, whether you've gotten special treatment. He's building a case that she's compromised her judgment, that the facility's restructuring was about protecting you, not about company culture." Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's not true." "Doesn't matter if it's true. Matters if he can make it look true." That evening, Daniel mentioned the conversation to Lena over the phone. She was still at the office at 9 p.m., which was becoming a pattern he didn't like. "Patterson can dig all he wants," she said, though her voice was tight. "There's nothing to find. Your performance reviews are solid. You haven't received preferential treatment. The policy changes benefit everyone, not just you." "But the optics, I'm so tired of hearing about optics." "We're not doing anything wrong, Daniel. We disclosed everything properly. We restructured reporting lines. We're following every rule. If that's not good enough for Patterson, then the problem is him, not us." "Lena, you sound exhausted." "I am exhausted. I've been dealing with board members calling me all week, questioning my judgment, suggesting I'm distracted. Patterson scheduled an emergency board meeting for Friday to discuss leadership concerns." Daniel's stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means he's making a play, trying to undermine my authority by painting me as emotional and irrational, using our relationship as evidence that I'm not fit to lead." "Then maybe we should—" Don't even suggest it. I know what you're going to say, and the answer is no. I'm not ending this to appease them. I'm not choosing the company over you. But if it costs you everything, then it costs me everything, but I'll have something real instead of an empire built on being alone." The line went quiet. Daniel could hear her breathing, could picture her in that corner office, surrounded by glass walls that no longer felt like protection. "Come over," he said quietly. "Daniel, it's late. Maya is asleep. Mrs. Chen's downstairs if she wakes up. Come over, please. You shouldn't be alone right now." 30 minutes later, Lena stood at his door in her work clothes, hair falling out of its professional bun, mascara slightly smudged. She looked wrecked and beautiful and so vulnerable it made his chest ache. He pulled her inside without a word, wrapped her in his arms, and just held her while she shook with silent tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered against his shoulder. "I'm so sorry this is affecting your life. You don't get to apologize for other people being assholes. But they're right, aren't they? I am compromised. I am making decisions based on personal feelings. I restructured the whole facilities department to protect you. No? You restructured it because you realized people were being undervalued. I was just the catalyst. There's a difference. She pulled back to look at him. Is there? Because sometimes I can't tell anymore. I can't separate what I'm doing for the company from what I'm doing for us, and that terrifies me. Daniel cupped her face in his hands. Then let me tell you what I see. I see a CEO who woke up to the fact that her company had a culture problem. I see someone who chose long-term sustainability over short-term profit. I see a leader who's willing to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. That's not compromise. That's courage. Patterson doesn't see it that way. Patterson sees threats to his power. That's all this is. He knows you're a better leader than he'll ever be, and it kills him. Lena closed her eyes. What if he wins Friday? What if the board votes no confidence? Then you walk away with your integrity intact, and we figure out what's next. Together. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it is a choice. And I'm choosing you, whatever happens. Are you choosing me? Yes. God, yes. I just wish... She stopped, shook her head. I wish I could protect you from all of this. From the whispers, and the judgment, and the way people look at you now. I'm a grown man. I can handle whispers. What about Maya? Can she handle it? That was the question that kept Daniel up at night. So far, Maya's world remained blissfully insulated from the corporate politics. She knew Lena, liked Lena, accepted Lena's presence with the easy adaptability of childhood. But kids talked. Parents talked. Eventually, someone would say something. We'll deal with it if it happens, Daniel said, one crisis at a time. Lena stayed until midnight, curled against him on the couch, while they watched nothing on TV and just existed in each other's space. When she finally left, she kissed him goodbye at the door with a desperation that felt like fear. I love you, she said. I need you to know that. Whatever happens Friday, I love you. I love you too. We're going to be okay. But as he watched her drive away, Daniel wasn't sure he believed it. Friday arrived like an execution date. Daniel went to work trying to act normal, while knowing that 12 floors above him, Lena was fighting for her career. He'd offered to take the day off, to be available if she needed him, but she'd insisted he maintain routine. If I go down on my own merit, not because you were standing beside me looking like proof of poor judgment. So he fixed a malfunctioning HVAC unit and tried not to check his phone every 5 minutes. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:55, Marcus found him in the mechanical room. You okay? No? Yeah, figured. Listen, whatever happens, remember, you're good at what you do. You'll land on your feet. This isn't about me landing on my feet. This is about Lena potentially losing everything she's built because of me. Not because of you, despite you. There's a difference. At 3:30, Daniel's phone buzzed. It's over. I survived. Barely. Can we talk tonight? Relief and dread hit simultaneously. He texted back, Dinner at mine, 7 p.m. I'll tell Maya you're coming. Her response was immediate. Thank you. I need normal right now. Lena arrived at 6:50 looking like she'd aged a decade in one afternoon. The professional armor was gone. She wore jeans and a sweater, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Maya took one look at her and immediately wrapped her arms around Lena's waist. You look sad. Do you need ice cream? Ice cream helps when you're sad. Lena laughed, but it came out shaky. You know what? Ice cream sounds perfect. They sat around Daniel's small kitchen table eating ice cream before dinner like it was a normal Friday night. Maya chattered about her week, showing Lena the butterfly project she'd been working on, explaining in elaborate detail why monarchs were superior to all other butterfly species. They migrate thousands of miles, Maya said seriously, chocolate ice cream on her chin. They're tiny, but they're brave. They don't let being small stop them from going where they need to go. Lena met Daniel's eyes across the table, and he saw her composure crack slightly. After dinner, Maya requested that Lena help with bedtime reading. Daniel listened from the hallway as Lena read Charlotte's Web in a voice that trembled occasionally but never broke. When Maya finally fell asleep mid-chapter, Lena carefully marked the page and tiptoed out. They settled on the couch with coffee neither of them would drink. Tell me, Daniel said. Patterson made his case. Laid out all the ways I've supposedly compromised my judgment since we've been together. The facility's restructuring, the expanded benefits package, the company-wide culture initiative. He framed every positive change as evidence of emotional decision-making. What did you say? I owned it. All of it. I said yes. I restructured facilities after developing a personal relationship with someone who made me see the department differently. Yes, I expanded benefits because I realized our employees deserved better. Yes, I launched a culture initiative because I wanted to build a company I'm proud of instead of just a profitable one. And yes, all of that was influenced by Daniel Brooks, but not in the way Patterson suggested. How did the board react? Split. 3 wanted me out immediately. 3 supported me completely. Patterson and 2 others were undecided but leaning toward a vote of no confidence. Daniel's chest tightened. So what changed? Robert. Lena's voice was soft with surprise. Robert stood up and said that he'd been watching me run this company for 4 years, and the last 2 months I'd been more engaged, more visionary, and more effective than ever before. He said that whatever was happening in my personal life was clearly making me a better leader, not a worse one. He called for a vote of confidence instead of no confidence. And 6-4 in my favor. I keep my job. Patterson keeps his seat but loses influence. And I have 6 months to prove that the changes I'm implementing will show measurable results. Relief flooded through Daniel. That's good. That's really good. It's a reprieve, not a victory. They're watching me now. Every decision will be scrutinized, every metric measured. If I fail, if the culture initiative doesn't show ROI, if employee satisfaction doesn't improve, if retention rates don't climb, they'll use it as proof that I was wrong about everything. You won't fail. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because you're not doing this for me anymore. You're doing it because it's right, and that's the kind of conviction that doesn't fail. Lena leaned against him, exhausted. Robert wants to have dinner with us, both of us, together. He said, if we're going to do this, we should do it properly. Meet each other's people. Build bridges instead of hiding. What did you say? I said I'd ask you. That it's not just my decision anymore. Daniel thought about it. Dinner with Robert Chen, the CFO, who'd been ready to fire him a month ago. The brother of Lena's best friend. A man whose opinion clearly mattered to her. Okay, let's do it. Really? Really? If we're going to build a life together, we can't hide from your world, and I can't let you carry all the burden of bridging the gap. She kissed him then, soft and grateful, and whispered against his lips, thank you for not running away. Never. You're stuck with me now. The dinner with Robert happened the following Saturday at a restaurant in Georgetown, upscale but not pretentious, the kind of place where Daniel felt only moderately out of place in his one good suit. Maya stayed with Mrs. Chen after extensive coaching about how Lena and her dad needed grown-up time. Robert arrived first, ordered whiskey, and studied Daniel with the kind of assessment usually reserved for balance sheets. So, Daniel Brooks, the man who changed everything. I didn't mean to change anything, just happened. Things like this don't just happen. You pursued her. Actually, she pursued me. I tried to maintain distance. She's the one who fought for this. Robert's eyebrow raised. Is that right? That's right, Lena confirmed, arriving in a blue dress that made Daniel forget how to breathe. Daniel tried to be professional. I'm the one who kept creating excuses to talk to him. Huh. Robert sipped his whiskey. Okay, cards on the table. I don't like this. Not because of you personally, Brooks, but because it's complicated as hell, and it puts Lena in a vulnerable position. But I've known her since she was 19, and I've never seen her this happy. So against my better judgment, I'm going to support this. On one condition. What condition? Daniel asked. You treat her right. You don't use her. You don't take advantage. You recognize that she's sacrificing a hell of a lot to make this work, and you appreciate that. I do appreciate it, every day. Good. Because if you hurt her, I will make your life extremely difficult. Clear? Crystal. Excellent. Now that we've established that, let's eat. I'm starving. Dinner progressed more smoothly than Daniel expected. Robert grilled him about Maya, his background, his plans for the future. Daniel answered honestly, refusing to pretend he was anything other than what he was. A single father doing his best, a maintenance worker who was good at his job, a man who'd fallen in love with someone unexpected. Halfway through the meal, Robert's sister Jessica arrived, a whirlwind of energy and immediate, unfiltered opinions. "So you're the famous Daniel," she said, sliding into the booth. "The guy who sent Lena into a tailspin with one wrong text message." Daniel nearly choked on his water. Lena buried her face in her hands. "Jessica, we agreed you wouldn't—" "I didn't agree to anything. I want to meet the man who made my best friend remember she's human." Jessica turned to Daniel with sharp, assessing eyes. "Tell me 3 things about Lena that have nothing to do with her job." Daniel glanced at Lena, who looked mortified. "She takes her coffee black because she thinks sugar is cheating. She alphabetizes her books but pretends it's random. She cries at the end of Charlotte's Web, even though she's read it a dozen times to Maya." Jessica's expression softened. "Okay, you actually pay attention. That's good. Most guys she dates couldn't tell me her coffee order if their life depended on it." "I'm not most guys." "No, you're really not. Which is why I'm going to tell you something important." Jessica leaned forward. "Lena doesn't let people in. She's spent her whole life building walls because the alternative was getting hurt. If she's let you in, it means you matter. Don't waste that." "I won't." "Good. Because I will personally destroy you if you do. And I'm significantly more creative than my brother." Robert raised his glass. "She really is. I'd be scared if I were you." The evening ended with hugs. Jessica embraced Daniel like they were already family. Robert shook his hand with something approaching respect and a feeling of tentative acceptance. In the car afterward, Lena was quiet. "You okay?" Daniel asked. "They liked you, Robert and Jessica. They actually liked you. Is that surprising?" "Yes. They've hated everyone I've ever dated, every single person, but they liked you. Maybe because I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. Or maybe because you're exactly who I need." The car ride dissolved into comfortable silence, but Daniel's mind was already racing ahead to the next challenge. Because acceptance from Lena's inner circle was one thing. Acceptance from the rest of the world was something else entirely. That reality hit 2 weeks later when Maya came home from school with a permission slip for a field trip and a question that made Daniel's blood run cold. "Dad, what's a gold digger?" He set down the dish he'd been washing. "Where did you hear that?" "Emily's mom said it at pickup. She was talking to another mom about someone dating their boss for money. Then she saw me and got quiet. But I heard her." Daniel closed his eyes. This was what he'd been afraid of. That the adult world would bleed into Maya's innocence. That other parents would make assumptions and their kids would parrot them. A gold digger is someone who dates a person only because they have money. It's not a nice thing to say about someone. Were they talking about you and Lana? There was no point in lying. Probably. That's stupid. You didn't even know Lena had money when you started liking her. How do you know that? Because you liked her before the gala. You were already thinking about her, I could tell. Daniel knelt down to Maya's level. Some people are going to say things. About me, about Lena, about us. It might be uncomfortable sometimes. I don't care what they say. I know you don't. But if it ever gets to be too much, you tell me, okay? You don't have to be brave all the time. Maya hugged him fiercely. I'm not being brave. I'm just being honest. They're wrong about you, and I'm not scared to say so. Well, that night, Daniel called Lena and told her about the conversation. I'm so sorry, she said immediately. I never wanted Maya to deal with this. It's not your fault. People talk. We knew they would. Maybe we should be more careful, more private, for Maya's sake. Or maybe we should be exactly what we are and teach her that other people's opinions don't define us. Lena was quiet for a long moment. You're a better person than I am. I'm just a person who's tired of hiding. I did that with Sarah, pretended everything was fine when it wasn't. Hid problems instead of facing them. I won't do that again, not even to protect Maya from discomfort. She needs to see what it looks like to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. When did you get so wise? Probably around the same time I fell in love with a CEO who makes me want to be better. The following week brought another test. Hartley Tech Solutions hosted a major investor meeting, and Lena invited Daniel as her guest. Not as staff, as her partner. You don't have to do this, he said when she extended the invitation. This is your professional world. I don't need to be part of it. But I want you to be. I'm tired of compartmentalizing my life, tired of presenting one version of myself at work and another version everywhere else. I want to be whole, and that means you being there. So Daniel found himself in a conference room full of venture capitalists and board members, wearing his suit and trying not to feel like an imposter. Lena introduced him simply as Daniel Brooks, my partner, and the room rippled with barely concealed surprise. Patterson was there, of course, watching with calculating eyes. During a break in presentations, an investor named Michael Sterling approached Daniel with a champagne flute and a smirk. "So you're the facilities guy everyone's talking about." "I work in facilities, yes." "Must be nice, dating the boss, built-in job security." Daniel met his eyes steadily. "I had job security before we started dating. I'm good at what I do." "I'm sure you are. But let's be honest, you hit the lottery here. Girl like Lena, company like this, that's not something a guy in your position usually gets access to." "You're right," Daniel said quietly. "I did hit the lottery, but not for the reasons you think. I got access to a woman who's brilliant, kind, and brave enough to be herself despite people like you judging her for it. The company, the money, the status. None of that matters to me. She matters." Sterling's smirk faltered. "That's a nice speech." "It's not a speech. It's the truth. And if you can't see the difference between love and opportunism, that says more about you than it does about me." He walked away before Sterling could respond, heart pounding, hands shaking slightly. Lena found him on the balcony 10 minutes later. "Michael Sterling looked like you punched him in the face. What happened?" Daniel recounted the conversation. Lena's expression went from concern to fierce pride. "You stood up to him." "I stood up for us. There's a difference." She kissed him right there on the balcony, visible to anyone who looked out the conference room windows. Let them see. Let them judge. Let them make their calculations and assumptions. This was real. This mattered. And she was done apologizing for it. When they returned to the conference room, Patterson was waiting. "Quite the display," he said coldly. "Very professional." "What can I do for you, Patterson?" Lena asked, her voice level. "I'm calling another board meeting, 3 months instead of 6. I want to see results from your culture initiative, real, measurable results." "You'll have them." "See that I do. Because if this company suffers while you're distracted playing house with the maintenance worker, I will remove you. That's not a threat. It's a promise." He walked away, leaving tension crackling in the air. Daniel touched Lena's arm. "You okay?" "I'm fine. He's just rattling cages, trying to make me doubt myself." "Is it working?" "No, because I'm not doing this alone anymore. I have you. I have Maya. I have people who believe in me for reasons that have nothing to do with quarterly profits." She turned to face him fully. "And that makes me stronger than Patterson could ever understand." They left the meeting early, drove to pick up Maya from Mrs. Chen's, and went to get ice cream. The three of them crammed into a booth at the local parlor, talking about butterflies and soccer and anything except corporate politics. This was what mattered. Not investor opinions or board votes or Patterson's schemes. This, Maya's chocolate-stained smile, Daniel's steady presence, Lena's growing certainty that she'd made the right choice. Everything else was just noise. And for the first time in her life, Lena knew how to tune it out. The 3 months before Patterson's accelerated board meeting passed in a blur of calculated risks and small victories. Lena threw herself into proving that her changes weren't just emotional indulgence, but sound business strategy. She implemented anonymous employee feedback systems, launched cross-departmental mentorship programs, and created advancement pathways for every position in the company, including facilities. Daniel watched her work 16-hour days and wanted to tell her to slow down, but he understood what drove her. This wasn't just about keeping her job anymore. It was about proving that caring about people and running a successful company weren't mutually exclusive. The data started coming in mid-January. Employee satisfaction scores climbed from 72% to 81%. Voluntary turnover dropped by 14%. 3 developers who had been planning to leave for competitors stayed after participating in the mentorship program. Productivity metrics showed a 7% increase across all departments. Robert presented the numbers to Lena in her office on a Thursday evening. Daniel was there too, having stopped by after his shift to bring her dinner she'd probably forget to eat. "This is good," Robert said, studying the reports. "Really good. Patterson won't be able to argue with these results." "He'll find something," Lena replied, rubbing her temples. "He always does." "Let him try. The numbers don't lie." Robert glanced at Daniel. "The facilities team specifically shows a 23% increase in efficiency since the restructuring. Response times are faster, maintenance costs are down, and employee engagement in that department is up 30%. That's not favoritism. That's effective management." Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. For months, he'd carried the weight of wondering if he was the reason Lena might fail. Seeing proof that her decisions had merit beyond their relationship was a relief he hadn't known he needed. After Robert left, Lena sagged in her chair. 3 more weeks until the board meeting. 3 weeks to hold this together. Daniel set the takeout containers on her desk. "You're going to hold it together. You've already won. You just have to show them the proof." What if it's not enough? What if Patterson convinces them that these results are temporary, that I'm too compromised to lead long term? Then we deal with it. But stop borrowing trouble from a future that hasn't happened yet. Eat your dinner. Go home at a reasonable hour. Let yourself believe that maybe, just maybe, you've already succeeded. She looked at him with exhausted gratitude. "How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I just know you. And I know you're scared of failing, but you're more scared of admitting you might have already won." Lena stood up, walked around the desk, and kissed him. "I love you." "Have I mentioned that recently?" "Not in the last 3 hours. I was starting to worry." "I love you so much, and I'm terrified of what happens if the board votes me out and I lose everything." "You won't lose everything. You'll lose a job. You'll still have Maya and me. You'll still have your talent and your integrity and your stubborn refusal to give up. That's not nothing." "It feels like nothing compared to what I've built here." "Then maybe what you've built here wasn't as important as you thought. Maybe what matters is what you're building with us." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Lena pulled back slightly, searching his face. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Daniel hadn't planned this, hadn't prepared a speech, or bought a ring, or orchestrated some grand romantic gesture. But standing in her office with 3 weeks until a board meeting that could end her career, he suddenly knew with absolute certainty what he wanted. "I'm saying that 6 months ago, you sent me a photo by mistake and it changed my entire life. I'm saying that watching you fight for what you believe in while juggling corporate politics and still showing up to Maya's soccer games makes me believe in things I stopped believing in years ago. I'm saying that I want to build a life with you, not someday, not when things are less complicated, but now, even if it's messy, even if it's hard." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, I'm not proposing, not yet, not until this board meeting is over, and you can make that decision without the weight of everything else on your shoulders. But I'm telling you that when the dust settles, whether you're CEO or not, whether we're still dealing with judgment or not, I want forever with you. And I need you to know that before we walk into whatever comes next." She kissed him again, harder this time, and whispered against his lips, "Ask me, right now. Ask me, and I'll say yes." "Lena, I mean it. I don't need the perfect moment or the perfect timing. I need you, so ask me." Daniel pulled back to look at her properly. "We should wait. Until after the meeting. Until things are stable." "Nothing will ever be perfectly stable. Life doesn't work that way. So ask me now or I'm going to ask you, and I'm pretty sure Maya would never forgive me if I robbed you of the chance to propose properly." Despite everything, the stress, the uncertainty, the absolute insanity of the moment, Daniel laughed. "You're serious. Completely serious. Ask me, Daniel Brooks. Ask me to marry you in this office with takeout getting cold on my desk and 3 weeks until a board meeting that might destroy my career. Ask me anyway." So he did. No ring, no planning, no perfect words. Just honesty. "Lena Hartley, will you marry me?" "Yes. Absolutely yes." They stood there grinning at each other like idiots until Lena's phone rang, shattering the moment. She glanced at the screen and her expression shifted. "It's Patterson at 8 p.m. on a Thursday." "This can't be good," she answered on speaker. "Patterson, what can I do for you?" "I wanted to give you advance notice as a professional courtesy. I'm recommending at the board meeting that we bring in an outside CEO. You can stay on in a reduced capacity, maybe COO or head of operations, but the company needs leadership that isn't distracted by personal complications. Lena's hand tightened on the phone. The numbers don't support that recommendation. Every metric has improved. Short-term improvements don't indicate long-term stability. The board needs to consider succession planning and leadership continuity. Your relationship creates ongoing concerns about judgment and priorities. My relationship is disclosed, properly managed, and has zero impact on my ability to lead this company. We'll let the board decide that. Meetings at 2 p.m. on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. He hung up. Lena set down the phone with careful control. He scheduled the vote for Valentine's Day. That's deliberate. He wants to make it symbolic, choosing love over career. He's trying to rattle you. It's working. She sank back into her chair. What if he's right? What if I can't do both? What if trying to have you in the company means I lose everything? Daniel knelt beside her chair. Then we choose. Right now. No more waiting, no more what ifs. What do you want, Lena? Really want? I want both. I want the company I built and the life I'm building with you and Maya. I want to prove that women can have it all without sacrificing pieces of themselves. I want to win. Then let's win. But we do it together. No more you carrying this alone. The next morning, Lena called an all-staff meeting. The entire company crammed into the largest conference room, overflow watching via video feed. Rumors had been flying for weeks about the upcoming board meeting, and tension filled the air. Lena stood at the front of the room in a navy suit, shoulders back, every inch the CEO who'd built a $15 million company from nothing. I'm going to be direct because you all deserve transparency. 3 months ago, the board questioned my leadership and gave me time to prove that the culture changes I implemented would show results. Those results are in, and they're strong. Employee satisfaction is up. Turnover is down. Productivity is up. We're performing better than we have in years. She paused, letting the information settle. But there's still concern from some board members about my judgment and priorities, specifically regarding my personal relationship with Daniel Brooks, who many of you know works in facilities. Rather than hide or minimize that relationship, I want to address it directly. Yes, Daniel and I are together. Yes, we've disclosed everything properly and restructured reporting lines to eliminate conflicts of interest. And yes, our relationship has influenced some of my decisions as CEO. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel, standing in the back with Marcus, felt every eye in the room finding him. It influenced my decision to look more closely at how we treat all employees, not just the ones in high-visibility roles. It influenced my understanding that company culture matters as much as quarterly profits. It influenced my belief that sustainable success comes from valuing people, not just extracting productivity from them. If that's compromised judgment, then I'm guilty as charged. Lena's voice strengthened. But I'm asking you to look at the results, not the optics. Look at the metrics. Look at your own experience over the last 3 months. Are you more engaged, more valued, more excited to come to work? If the answer is yes, then the changes are working, regardless of what inspired them. She pulled out a document. I have one more piece of information to share. Yesterday, I received an offer from Meridian Tech, our biggest client. They want to acquire Hartley Tech Solutions for $23 million. That's a 53% premium over our current valuation. The offer is contingent on current leadership remaining in place for at least 2 years. They're not buying the company, they're buying what we've built, including the culture. The room erupted. Daniel felt Marcus grab his arm. Did you know about this? Marcus hissed. No, she didn't tell me. Lena waited for silence. I'm not accepting the offer. I didn't build this company to sell it, but I wanted you to know that what we're doing here has value, measurable, substantial value that even our competitors recognize. In 2 weeks, the board will vote on whether I should remain CEO. I hope the results speak louder than the gossip. Thank you. She walked out of the conference room to stunned silence, then gradually building applause. Daniel found her in her office 10 minutes later. An acquisition offer? Lena, $23 million. I know what it's worth, but it's not what I want. I built this company to prove something, and I'm not done proving it yet. You could have told me. I know, but I needed to make this decision on my own. Not because of you, not because of the board, but because it's what I believe is right. She turned to face him. Are you angry? No. I'm terrified and proud and completely in awe of you, but not angry? Good. Because I need you to trust me for the next 2 weeks. Trust that I know what I'm doing, even when it looks like I'm risking everything. The days leading up to the Valentine's Day board meeting were the longest of Daniel's life. Lena worked around the clock, preparing presentations and documentation. Maya asked repeatedly when Lena would come to dinner again, and Daniel had to explain that she was very busy but would be back soon. Is it because of the mean people at her work? Maya asked. Sort of. Some people don't think she should be the boss anymore. That's dumb. She's a good boss. You said so. I did say so, but sometimes people disagree. Then those people are wrong. Maya's 7-year-old certainty was unwavering. Will you tell her we miss her and that I made her a Valentine's Day card? Daniel delivered the card that evening. Lena opened it to find a construction paper heart covered in stickers and Maya's careful handwriting. You are brave like a butterfly. Love, Maya. She cried. Actually cried, mascara running down her face, holding a child's Valentine like it was the most precious thing she'd ever received. I can't lose you both, she whispered. I can't. You won't. No matter what happens Monday, you have us. That doesn't change. February 14th arrived cold and bright. Daniel took the day off work, officially for personal reasons, unofficially to be available in case Lena needed him. He dropped Maya at school with extra hugs, drove to a coffee shop near Hartley Tech headquarters, and waited. The board meeting started at 2 p.m. By 2:45, Daniel had consumed 3 coffees and worn a path in the sidewalk outside. His phone buzzed at 3:15. Lena, it's done. Can you meet me at our bench? Their bench was in the waterfront park where they'd started having lunch together a month ago, away from office eyes and judgment. Daniel drove there on autopilot, his heart hammering. Lena sat facing the water, still in her professional armor, but somehow looking smaller than usual. He sat beside her without speaking. I won, she said quietly. 7-3. Patterson and his allies voted against me, but everyone else voted confidence. I keep my job. I keep the company. I won. That's incredible, Lena. Why don't you sound happy? Because Patterson made one final play. He said that even though I won this vote, he'd be watching, waiting for me to fail, ready to call another vote the moment I show any sign of prioritizing my personal life over the company. He said I could have the job or have you, but eventually I'd have to choose. Daniel's chest tightened. What did you say? I said I'd already chosen, and then I resigned. The world tilted. You what? I resigned as CEO, effective in 60 days, which gives me time to transition leadership and help find my replacement. I'm staying on the board and retaining my shares, but I'm stepping down from day-to-day operations. Lena, no. You can't. You won. You proved them wrong. You can't just quit. She finally looked at him, and her eyes were clear, certain. I'm not quitting. I'm choosing. Patterson was right about one thing. I was going to have to choose eventually, career or love, the company or you and Maya, everything I've built or everything I'm building, and I choose you. But the company will be fine, better than fine. Robert's going to step up as interim CEO, and we're already looking for someone who believes in the culture we've created. The work will continue, the changes will stick, but I won't be the one working 16-hour days and missing Maya's soccer games and collapsing into bed too exhausted to remember why I'm fighting. Daniel couldn't speak, couldn't process what she was saying. I've spent my entire life building walls and chasing validation and trying to prove I was worthy of respect, Lena continued, and I achieved everything I set out to achieve. I built a company. I proved myself. I won. But it's not enough anymore. It's not what I want. What do you want? I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to make Maya breakfast and go to all her soccer games and help with her homework. I want to figure out what comes next for me professionally, but on my own terms, not the board's terms. I want a life that feels like mine instead of a performance for investors. She took his hand. I want the family we're building more than I want the empire I've already built. Are you sure? Because you can't undo this. If you step down, I'm sure I've never been more sure of anything. Lena squeezed his hand. You told me once that you chose caution over desire because Maya was more important than anything else. You chose her future over your own wants. I'm choosing you both. That's not sacrifice. That's clarity. Daniel pulled her close, and she buried her face in his shoulder. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know who I am without the CEO title. But I know I don't want to be the person who works herself to death to prove a point while missing the life happening around her. We'll figure it out together. Whatever comes next, we figure it out together. They sat on the bench until the sun started setting, making plans and dreaming out loud. Lena talked about maybe starting a consulting firm focused on company culture, maybe teaching, maybe writing a book about what she'd learned, maybe taking 6 months to just breathe and figure out what made her happy beyond professional achievement. I have one more idea, Daniel said as they walked back to their cars, but it's crazy. I like crazy. What's the idea? Move in with us. Not to the penthouse, to my apartment. It's small and Maya's loud and the neighbors are nosy, but it's real. No glass walls, no performance, just life. Lena stopped walking. You want me to move from a penthouse to a 2-bedroom apartment? I want you to move from a museum to a home, but only if you want to. When? Whenever you're ready. Next week? Next month. 6 months from now. No pressure. Next week, Lena said immediately. I'll give notice on the penthouse next week. I'm ready. They picked up Maya from school together, both of them, for the first time, and took her to celebrate at the ice cream place. When they told her Lena was moving in, Maya shrieked so loud the entire parlor turned to stare. Really? Really, really? You're going to live with us? If that's okay with you, Lena said. Are you kidding? This is the best day ever. We need to clean my room and make space for your stuff and, oh, can we get a cat? If you're moving in, we should get a cat. Why does moving in mean we should get a cat? Daniel asked. Because families have cats. It's basically a requirement. They didn't get a cat immediately, but the conversation became a running joke. Over the next few weeks, as Lena packed up her penthouse and Daniel cleared out closet space, and Maya helpfully rearranged furniture, the word family started feeling less like aspiration and more like reality. Lena's last day as CEO was March 15th. The company threw a party that she insisted be open to everyone, not just executives. Speeches were made. Robert presented her with a plaque thanking her for her service. Employees she barely knew came up to thank her for the culture changes. And when it was over, she walked out of Hartley Tech Solutions with a cardboard box of personal items, Daniel waiting by his truck, and absolutely no regrets. How does it feel? He asked. Weird, sad, relieved, like closing a chapter I wasn't sure I was ready to finish. Any second thoughts? Not one. They drove to pick up Maya together, and that night, in Daniel's small apartment that was now their small apartment, they had spaghetti with jarred sauce and talked about the future with the easy confidence of people who'd already survived the hard part. 2 months later, on a Saturday morning before Maya's soccer game, Daniel finally did the proposal properly. He took them both to the farmer's market where it all started, or at least where he'd first seen Lena outside the office walls, and knelt down in front of the sunflower stand with a ring he'd saved for months to afford. Lena Hartley, you changed my life with a wrong text message. You made me believe in second chances and choosing courage over caution. You show up for Maya and me every single day, even when it's hard, even when it would be easier to walk away. Will you marry me? Lena was crying and laughing at the same time. Yes, I already said yes 2 months ago, but yes, absolutely yes. Maya threw herself at both of them, creating a group hug that nearly knocked them all over into the flower display. Finally, can I be the flower girl? And can we get a cat now? I feel like getting engaged means we should get a cat. We're not getting a cat, Daniel said. Yet, Lena amended, sliding the ring onto her finger. We're not getting a cat yet. They got married 4 months later in a small ceremony at the waterfront park. Jessica was Lena's maid of honor. Marcus was Daniel's best man. Maya was indeed the flower girl, wearing a purple dress she'd helped design and scattering rose petals with the seriousness of someone performing a sacred duty. Robert walked Lena down the aisle because her father had opinions about her marrying beneath her station, and she'd politely told him his presence was optional. He didn't come. She didn't miss him. The ceremony was simple. The vows were honest. When Daniel promised to love her through boardroom battles and soccer games, through success and failure, through every choice they'd make together, Lena believed him. And when she promised to choose him every single day to build a life that mattered more than a legacy, he believed her too. The reception was at the Vietnamese restaurant Daniel had mentioned months ago, the one with wobbly tables and incredible pho. They rented out the whole place, filled it with employees from Hartley Tech, neighbors from Daniel's building, Maya's soccer teammates and their parents, Jessica and Robert, and the handful of people who'd supported them from the beginning. No venture capitalists, no board members, no one who'd ever made them feel like they needed to justify their love. Just people who understood that sometimes the wrong message is exactly the right beginning. Late in the evening, after Maya had fallen asleep on Marcus's shoulder and the last guests were filtering out, Daniel and Lena stood outside the restaurant looking at the Alexandria skyline. "Any regrets?" he asked. "Not one? You?" "Just one." Lena's expression flickered with concern. "What?" "I regret that it took me so long to send that first text. I should have found a way to talk to you months earlier. But then I wouldn't have sent you the photo that started everything." "True. I guess timing worked out exactly right." "It did." Lena leaned against him, her white dress slightly rumpled, her hair falling out of its careful updo. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me when I was invisible to myself. For making me realize that building an empire means nothing if you're alone in it. For giving me a family when I thought all I needed was a company. Thank you for being brave enough to choose this. It would have been easier to choose the safe path. Nothing about loving you has been easy. It's been complicated and messy and absolutely perfect." 6 months after the wedding, Lena launched her consulting firm focused on helping tech companies build human-centered cultures. Her first client was Meridian Tech, which was still interested in acquiring Hartley Tech Solutions, but wanted Lena's guidance on maintaining its culture post-acquisition. The deal eventually went through with Robert as CEO and Lena as a highly paid consultant who worked from home 3 days a week and never missed Maya's soccer games. Daniel got promoted to facilities director with a 20% raise after proving himself invaluable during the company transition. He still left early on Thursdays to pick up Maya from school, but now he also led a team of 8 people and had a voice in operational decisions. Maya turned 8, then 9, then 10. She did eventually get her cat, an orange tabby she named Butterscotch, who mostly slept on Daniel's side of the bed despite being nominally Maya's pet. She played soccer through middle school, not because she was particularly talented, but because she loved it and because her dad and Lena never missed a game. And sometimes, late at night when Maya was asleep, and the cat was purring and Lena was curled against his side, Daniel would think about that Saturday afternoon when he'd received a photo by mistake and everything had changed. He'd deleted immediately, he'd said. And he had. But he'd never been able to delete what came after. The conversation, the connection, the choice to see where honesty might lead. That was the real gift. Not the photo itself, but the door it opened to a life he never imagined he deserved. Lena had given up an empire. Daniel had risked his stability. Maya had shared her father with someone new. They'd all sacrificed something to build this family. But lying there in their bedroom, the one they'd created together when they'd eventually moved to a larger apartment, then later to a small house with a yard where Maya could practice soccer and the cat could stalk birds, Daniel knew with absolute certainty that they'd gained more than they'd lost. Some mistakes weren't mistakes at all. They were invitations to a different kind of life. A better life. A real life. And some wrong messages were exactly right.